Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a golden sunset over Ecruteak City, the massive silhouette of the bell tower piercing the sky like an ancient sentinel. A rainbow arcs faintly in the distance, whispered to be the trail of a phoenix reborn from ashes. Below, the streets hum with trainers, clutching Poké Balls carved from humble apricorns, while kimono-clad dancers perform rituals that echo through time. This isn't just Johto. This is the cradle, the origin, the beating heart from which the entire Pokémon world was born. Welcome to How Johto Shaped the Entire Pokémon World, a 3-hour deep dive that will shatter everything you thought you knew about the series. If you've ever wondered why every region feels connected, why legendary Pokémon intervene in human affairs across the globe, or how a single region's forgotten legends underpin the myths of Sinnoh, Alola, and beyond, this is the video for you. Buckle up, because Johto isn't Pokémon's sequel region, it's the blueprint, the foundation stone. And by the end of this journey, you'll see every game, anime episode, and spin-off through completely new eyes. Let's start with the big question. Why Johto? Generation 2 dropped in 1999, right after the explosive success of Red and Blue. Everyone expected more of Kanto, bigger gyms, tougher rivals, maybe some new mons to grind. But Game Freak didn't expand, they rewound. They took us west, to a land of misty mountains, bamboo forests, and ruined towers that whispered of a world far older than Ash's Pikachu. Johto wasn't built to feel fresh, it was built to feel ancient. And in that antiquity lies the key to everything. Picture the burned tower in Ecruteak, charred timbers, a gaping hole where fire once raged, and at its heart, the tragic tale of 3 legendary beasts, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. Ho-Oh, the rainbow phoenix, watches from the heavens. A human calamity strikes, greed, accident, who knows, and the beasts perish in flames. But Ho-Oh doesn't abandon them. It revives them, infusing their souls with eternal life, setting them racing across the land as guardians reborn. This isn't just a side quest. This is the first canonical moment of death and reincarnation in Pokémon lore. The template for every legendary resurrection that follows. Think about it. In Sinnoh, Arceus births the creation trio from its plates, echoing Johto's divine revival. Dialga, Palkia, Giratina. They're not random, they're spiritual successors to those beasts, born from a similar cosmic forge. Fast forward to Unova, where Reshiram and Zekrom clash in eternal duality, their legend rooted in human folly and Pokémon redemption, mirroring the burned tower's ashes. Even Paldea's paradox Pokémon twist time itself, but their origins tie back to temporal guardians we'll uncover later. Johto's towers aren't backstory, they're the origin point of Pokémon's entire cosmology. Brass Tower for Lugia, the guardian of the seas, diving beast whose presence stabilizes the world's very seas. Bell Tower for Ho-Oh, sky sovereign. These aren't regional mascots, they're the archetypes for every legendary duo, trio, and quartet that defines the franchise. But Johto's influence doesn't stop at myths. It rewires the world's power structures. Kanto and Johto share one Pokémon League, one Elite Four, one champion. Lance flies between them on Dragonite, proving that borders are illusions. This isn't convenience, it's the model. Galar's Gym Challenge spans the nation. Paldea's terrestrial battles unite academies. Even Hisui's ancient clans hint at unified Warden systems. Johto proves regions can thrive intertwined, politically and culturally. The Kimono Girls? They're not just dancers, they're priestesses, soul-bound to the beasts, preserving Johto's spiritual heritage through performance. Sound familiar? Alola's Kahuna's channel Tapas with Kahuna dances. Galar's nobles evoke ancient stewards. Hisui's wardens, direct echoes of Johto's clan guardians, protecting sacred sites with Pokémon partners. Johto codifies the human-Pokémon bond as sacred duty, a cultural framework every region builds upon. Now, zoom out to technology. Before Poké Balls were mass-produced miracles, they were artisanal wonders from Azalea Town. Kurt, the apricorn artisan, hollows nuts with patience and Pokémon aid, birthing the core tech that captures the world. This isn't lore fluff, it's canon. Modern Poké Balls, descended directly from Johto's prototypes. Hisui's ancient balls, with their urns and feathers. Primitive echoes, but the craftsmanship traces back through migrations to Johto's forests. Game Freak has layered this into the timeline. Johto as the ancestral hub, where human ingenuity first harmonized with Pokémon nature. No Johto, no global trainer economy, no Pokémart stocked with Ultra Balls from Silphcoat's Kanto factories, which themselves nod to Johto's roots. And the ecosystem. Johto doesn't just add Pokémon, it redefines them. Breeding mechanics debut here, with the daycare turning wild, captures into family legacies. Eggs hatch new generations, cementing Pokémon as a living, evolving world, not just battle fodder. Then bam, Dark and Steel types crash the party. They don't just balance fairy weaknesses later, they restructure everything from day one. Ghost resists poison, Steel shrugs off Dragon. This meta shift ripples globally, forcing every region's decks to adapt. Johto teaches us Pokémon evolve not just individually, but as a global biome. Historically, Johto ties the threads. Wall carvings in Sinnoh's ruins, they depict Johto migrants, bringing legends westward, seeding Hisui's clans, the Diamond Clan, Pearl Clan, their celestial worship, Johto's tower rituals refined, craftsmen in Olivine, Goldenrod's department stores, they're the progenitors of every regional specialty, from Carlos perfumes to Unova gears. Even villainy bows to Johto, Team Rocket splinters post-Kanto, infiltrating Johto's radio towers and beasts. But they don't die. They evolve, fragmenting into magma, aqua, galactic, recurring threats proving criminal empires transcend regions. Johto shows the world isn't safe. Shadows linger, always adapting. Spiritually, shrines dot Johto like stars. Ilex Forest for Celebi, the first true time guardian. Not a gimmick, Celebi's forest heart expands lore into time travel, echoed in Carlos's time gates, Galar's crown tundra anomalies, Scarlet Violet's time rifts. Pokémon as deities with rituals. Johto's playbook, influencing Alola's guardian dances, Paldea's shrine quests, Sinnoh's lake guardians. Meta-wise, Johto was Game Freak's pivot. After Kanto's triumph, they crafted a cultural heart. Myths first, tech grounded in tradition, humans reverent to Pokémon. Every region since, strong myth cores like Unova's dragons. Defined ancients like Hisui, local crafts like Hoenn fossils, spiritual ties like Paldea's treasures. Johto isn't the chapter, it's the prologue. So why does this matter? Because Pokémon isn't random regions, it's a unified cosmology, and Johto holds the keystone. Ignore it, and Sinnoh's myths feel isolated. Hisui's history unmoored, Alola's guardians adrift, but see Johto's hand. The world clicks, legends connect, tech evolves logically, villains persist, spirituality binds. In this video, we'll journey through it all. Tower flames to time groves, aprons to alliances, beasts to breeding. We'll unearth canon ties buried in games, manga, anime, prove Johto's fingerprints on every map. By hour 3, you'll replay Gold, Soul Silver, not as nostalgia, but revelation. If you're a lore hound, casual fan, or shiny hunter tired of surface scans, this is your map. Hit like if Johto's underrated, subscribe for more deep dives, comment your favourite Johto legend below. Let's unlock the origin. Grab your Master Ball. The Phoenix calls. The forgotten heart of Pokémon lore. Johto holds the oldest known record of divine Pokémon intervention in the entire Pokémon world. Long before Sinnoh's tales of creation with Arceus and the Lake Guardians, Johto's legends whisper of a time when the skies themselves wept fire and rebirth. What if I told you this region isn't just a sequel to Kanto, but the actual starting point of Pokémon's cosmic story? You see, while Sinnoh loves to claim the title of origin, With its grand myths of the universe's birth, Johto's history stretches back further, etched into ancient towers and forgotten scrolls that predate even those carvings in the Celestian ruins. Think about it. Sinnoh's lore speaks of Arceus shaping the world from nothingness, dialing up the pillars of creation. Powerful stuff, right? But Johto, it doesn't talk about the beginning of everything. It shows us the first moment God stepped in to fix what humanity broke. This isn't speculation. It's straight from the game's Pokédex entries and those hidden dialogues trainers uncover in Ecruteak City. Johto positions itself as the heart where the divine first touched the mortal coil, setting the rules for every legendary encounter that follows. Let's zero in on the key event that proves this, the tragedy of the burned tower. You know the story, or at least the surface version. 3 centuries ago, a massive fire ravaged the original brass tower in Ecruteak. It wasn't some random blaze, lightning from a raging storm. Some say Entei, Raikou, and Suicune themselves caused it in a frenzy, turned the tower into a smouldering ruin. Hundreds of lives lost, the structure collapsed, and with it, the Pokémon inside perished. But here's where Johto flips the script on creation myths. Ho-Oh, the rainbow Pokémon, didn't just witness this, it acted. Ho-Oh descended, its wings painting the smoke-filled sky with a 7-coloured arc. From the ashes, it resurrected the 3 beasts. Entei, the volcano Pokémon, Raikou, the thunderclap embodiment, and Suicune, the north wind purifier. This wasn't mere revival. It was the first canonical display of a legendary Pokémon bending death itself, breathing life back into charred remains. And Lugia, the guardian of the seas, diving guardian, entered the fray too. While Ho-Oh handled the land and fire, Lugia quelled the apocalyptic waves threatening to swallow Johto whole. Together, they stabilized the region, but at a cost, the tower stayed burned, a scar as a warning. Why does this matter more than Sinnoh's tales? Because Sinnoh's myths are abstract. Creation from egg, pillars forming land and sea. Johto gives us the gritty reality. The burned tower incident is dated to around 300 years before gold and silver, but Pokédex lore and ancient texts hint at cycles repeating from eons prior. Wall carvings in Sinnoh's ruins of Alph, right there in Johto, depict similar tower motifs, with phoenix-like birds and sea serpents intervening in human folly. Johto isn't borrowing from Sinnoh. Sinnoh echoes Johto. Those Hishuian clans, their oral histories trace migrations from Johto's shores, carrying these tower legends across the sea. But hold on, does this really predate Sinnoh? Absolutely. Game Freak's canon places Johto's events as the benchmark. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes, elders in Ecruteak speak of the first calamity, predating even the Sinnoh Emperor's era. Arceus myths might claim the universe's dawn, but Johto shows the first hands-on, godly fix. It's like the Bible's Genesis versus the Flood. Noah's Ark is where gods get practical. You feel that shift? It's Johto teaching us legendaries aren't distant creators. They're active saviours triggered by human disaster. Now the twist that will blow your mind. This burned tower blueprint echoes across every region, templating how legendaries appear worldwide. Look at Hoenn's awakening of Groudon and Kyogre. Human meddling with weather machines unleashes primal forces, mirroring the storm that burned the tower. Rayquaza dives in as mediator, just like Lugia calming seas. In Sinnoh, Cyrus's distortions at Spear Pillar, Dialga and Palkia clash, with Arceus or Giratina intervening, echoes of beasts revived from chaos. Unova's Kyurem fusion, fractured legendaries pieced back by human ambition, gone wrong. Even Paldea's AI experiments, summoning Terrapagos, divine reset button. Every major legendary arc follows Johto's formula. Catastrophe, sparked by nature or hubris. Beasts rampage, tower shrine crumbles, guardian duo or trio steps in. Ho-Oh and Lugia's tag team. It's the prototype for Reshiram and Zekrom Solgaleo and Lunala, every yin-yang pair, the three beasts roaming as pennants. That's Mewtwo's rage, the Swords of Justice's vigil. Johto didn't invent legendaries, it codified their role in the world's drama. You playing through Black and White, that thrill of summoning at Dragon Spiral Tower? Pure Burn Tower homage. This cosmological primacy shapes more than myths. Politically, Johto and Kanto share one Pokémon League, the Indigo League, the original model every region copies. Elite Four, Champion Throne, the whole structure? Born here, exported globally. Galar's Gym Challenge, Paldea's Treasures of Ruin quests. They riff on Johto's unified system, where borders blur for collective strength. Culturally, those kimono girls dancing in Ecruteak, they're the guardians preserving sacred flames for Ho-Oh. Prototype for Alola's kahunas channeling Tapas. Galar's folk heroes invoking Eternatus legends. Hisui's wardens taming nobles. Johto's clans teach Pokémon reverence through ritual. Shinto-inspired dances that bind human and divine. Technology? Kurt's Apricorn. Poké Balls in Azalea Town mark the genesis of capture tech, handcrafted from nuts evolving into Hisui's ancient balls and modern mass-produced ones. Johto's the ancestral forge. Game Freak confirms in manga tie-ins that these designs influence Sinnoh's feudal inventors. Ecosystem-wise, Johto revolutionises everything. Breeding at the daycare introduces eggs as life's cycle, now universal for hatching shinies or perfect IVs. Dark and Steel types? They shatter Gen 1's balance, forcing global meta shifts. Tyranitar's rise redefined walls. Skyzer's speed became the standard. Historically, Johto links directly to Sinnoh's past. Those Alph ruins puzzles? Unknown script matching Hisuian tablets, telling of Johto migrants seeding Celebi groves in ancient Johto, which became Sinnoh's time rifts. Clans like the Ecruteak historians trace to Hisuian samurai bloodlines. Even villains follow the pattern. Team Rocket's splinters post Kanto into Johto's remnants. Giovanni's shadow, Ops here foreshadow, Magma Aqua's Ecoterra, Galactic's ideology, Skell's tech heists. Criminal syndicates endure, adapting across borders, always undone by legendary pushback. Spiritually, Johto elevates Pokémon to sacred status. Shrines for Celebi in Elex Forest, the first time travel guardian, dialing timelines like Dialga, but personal, forest-bound. This sparks Paldea's time blooms, Unova's relic castle echoes. Rituals at Tin Tower prepare for Ho-Oh's return, mirrored in Alola's guardian dances. Meta-wise, Johto's design as Pokémon's cultural heart influences every region since. Gen 2 wasn't expansion, it was the template. Strong myths, check tower legends. Defined ancient past, burned tower scars. Local craftsmanship, apricorns, kimonos, human Pokémon bonds, everywhere, from daycares to beast quests. You see how deep this runs? Johto isn't forgotten, it's foundational, the pulse every lore beat sinks to. But we've only scratched the surface of that pivotal fire. What really ignited the burned tower, and how did Ho-Oh's flames of rebirth change the beasts forever? That's the inferno we'll dive into next in Chapter 2, Flames of Rebirth. Stick around, you won't want to miss how it all reignited. Flames of Rebirth. Did you know that Pokemon's very first confirmed deaths happen right here in Johto, inside a tower that still stands as a charred reminder of what happens when humans reach too far? We're talking about the burned tower, once called the Brass Tower, where fire didn't just destroy stone, it sparked the flames of rebirth and set the stage for legends across the entire Pokemon world. Let me take you through it step by step, because this isn't some side story. This is ground zero for how Pokemon handles life, death, and everything in between. Picture the scene in ancient Ecruteak City. Two colossal towers dominate the skyline. The elegant Bell Tower, home to the Rainbow Phoenix Ho-Oh, and its rival, the Brass Tower, built by humans hungry for divine favour. They wanted their own sacred beacon, something to rival the gods themselves. But ambition like that, it rarely ends well. One fateful night, lightning cracks the sky. Not just any storm, this bolt slams straight into the brass tower. Flames erupt, swallowing everything. Inside, 3 legendary beasts roam: Raikou, the thunderclap prowler; Entei, the volcano incarnate; and Suicune, the pure north wind. They're symbols of nature's fury, guardians tied to the elements. As the tower crumbles, so do they. They perish in the inferno. Gone. First time in canon that legendary Pokémon straight up die. No ambiguity, no fade to black. Death hits the big ones. But here's where it gets wild. Ho-Oh, that majestic firebird from the bell tower, senses the loss. It descends on wings that paint the sky in a sacred rainbow. With a cry that shakes the earth, Ho-Oh channels its power. Flames of rebirth ignite, not destruction, but renewal. Raikou, Entei, and Suicune rise from the ashes, reborn, reincarnated. Their forms are the same, but now they're wanderers, eternal nomads, racing across Johto's plains, forever chasing that moment of resurrection. This isn't just a cool event. It's Pokémon's blueprint for the death-rebirth cycle. The first time it canonically, and it ripples out to every corner of the world. You might be thinking, okay, that's epic Johto lore. Why does it matter beyond Ecruteak? Hold on, because the revelation here will blow your mind. This exact event directly shapes the myths of Sinnoh, halfway across the globe. Think about the Lake Guardians, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. Those psychic trio born from Dialga and Palkia's clash at the world's creation. Sinnoh legends whisper of them as embodiments of knowledge, emotion, and willpower, emerging from lakes after cataclysmic events. Sound familiar? It's the same archetype. Death in fire, rebirth in water. Ho-Oh's ritual with the beasts predates Sinnoh's tales by centuries in the timeline, proving Johto as the cosmological cradle. Dig deeper into Sinnoh's lore, and you'll find carvings in Salation ruins and ancient Hishuian texts that echo this. The Lake Guardians aren't random. They're the next iteration of elemental trios tied to rebirth after disaster. But it goes further. Dialga and Palkia themselves, lords of time and space. Their myths revolve around stabilizing reality after chaos, preventing total annihilation. Ho-Oh's resurrection isn't pure magic. It's a manipulation of life's cycle through time-space fabric. When Ho-Oh revives the beasts, it's bending those laws, foreshadowing how Dialga warps moments to allow reincarnation, or Palkia reshapes dimensions to make rebirth possible. Game Freak confirmed this linkage in supplemental materials and Generation 4 games. Johto's Tower Fire is the prototype for Sinnoh's creation emergence stories. Why does this connection matter to you as a fan? Because it unifies the Pokémon universe. You boot up Platinum or Legends, Arceus, and those Sinnoh legends feel ancient and isolated. But nope, they're building on Johto's foundation. The beast's death and revival establish that even legendaries aren't immortal in the traditional sense. They cycle, they reincarnate. This sets the rulebook for every region. Rayquaza shedding its mortal coil in Hoenn myths, Reshiram and Zekrom's ideological rebirth in Unova, even Kyogre and Groudon's primal regression in Kalos lore. Johto didn't invent death, but it canonized it for the gods. Now let's talk escalation, because the Brass Tower's fall isn't just about phoenix tears and lightning shows. It's the starkest early example of human hubris clashing with Pokémon divinity. Builders in Ecruteak thought they could stack stones to summon Ho-Oh's blessing, matching the bell tower's grace. Lightning strikes as cosmic payback. The tower burns, beasts die, and the survivors? They flee into the wild, no longer tethered to human shrines. This theme repeats like a drumbeat through Pokémon history. Look at Hisui, humans encroaching on noble Pokémon territories, sparking wars, or Alola's Tapu's punishing island overreach. Paldea's paradox Pokémon, emerging from temporal hubris in Area Zero. Even Team Plasma in Unova preaching harmony after exploiting legendaries. Brass Tower kicks it off. Humans build too high, gods strike back. World resets. You feel that weight, right? Every time you climb a game's victory road or challenge a gym leader, you're walking in the footsteps of those ancient architects. Johto teaches us the cost of arrogance early, making every later story hit harder. And it's not abstract. In Gold and Silver, you visit the burned tower yourself. Step inside and ghostly flames flicker. Raikou, Entei, Suicune bolt past in Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes. Their sprites a blur of reformed fury. It's interactive lore, you trigger the cycle's echo. But let's unpack the beasts themselves, because their rebirth isn't random. Raikou embodies lightning's raw speed, revived to patrol storms. Entei, volcanic might, guards Earth's molten heart. Suicune, purifying winds and waters, cleanses the fallout. Together they balance what the fire disrupted. Ho-Oh chooses them not by chance, but as elemental opposites to its own fiery purity. This trio dynamic, it influences everything. Think Reggie Trio's mechanical rebirths, Swords of Justice awakening post-extinction, or even the Tapas Island guardianships. Johto prototypes the three sacred beasts motif. Fast forward to modern games, and you see the fingerprints. In Legends, Arceus, Hisuian forms nod to Johto's ancient tech and migrations. Clans fleeing Ecratake's ruins, carrying tales of phoenix fire. Wall art in Sinnoh's temples depicts burning spires mirroring Brass Tower. Even competitive play feels it. Steel and Dark types debuting in Johto rebalance after elemental beasts roam free, forcing new strategies worldwide. What if I told you this event subtly ties into Celebi's time grove nearby? That forest guardian witnesses the cycle, weaving timelines to ensure rebirths align. Johto layers its myths like an onion. Peel one, find Sinnoh underneath. Fans debate if the beasts are true immortals or vessels for spirits, but canon leans vessel. They die, reform, wander eternally. No rest, just purpose. You won't believe how this hubris theme escalates globally. Post-Johto, regions model their disasters on it. Hoenn's Weather Institute hubris summons Kyogre Groudon. Sinnoh's Spear Pillar ambition awakens Cyrus's folly with Dialga. It's a warning etched in lore. Touch the divine casually, pay in flames. As we wrap this chapter on the flames of rebirth, consider how one tower's collapse birthed an entire philosophy of renewal. Johto didn't just shape its region, it scripted the world's response to mortality. But that Phoenix had a counterpart, a shadowy force dwelling in crashing waves far to the west. What secrets do the guardians of the whirlpools hold, and how do they counter Ho-Oh's fire with their own tempestuous power? Stick around, you'll want to dive right in. Wait, we're not done yet, I promise depth, so let's explore the cultural ripple effects. In Johto, post-fire rituals emerge. Kimono girls dance to honor the beasts, their performances invoking rainbow blessings. This prototype spreads. Alola's kahunas chant for Tapu revival. Galar's dynast warriors revive ancient heroes via folklore dances. Johto's spiritual guardians set the template. Technologically, Apricorn Pokeballs from nearby Kurt evolve from tower crafts, capturing wandering beasts safely, preventing more hubris-fueled clashes. Breeding mechanics debut here too. Eggs hatching new life mirrors, reincarnation, a direct nod. Politically, the shared Kanto-Johto League forms amid recovery, uniting fractured humans under Pokémon oversight. Elite Four structure, born from Tower Overseers. Even villains learn from it. Team Rocket's splinter in Johto echoes the tower's fall. Overreach leads to fracture, birthing global crime waves like Magma or Galactic. Religiously, shrines.Johto for the beasts, first model for sacred sites worldwide. Celebi's Ilex Grove guards time rifts born from the fire's temporal echo. Meta-wise, Johto's design philosophy, myth at core, ancient past defined, defines every region since. Strong human-Pokémon spiritual bonds. Johto's gift. This event's influence is inescapable. From Sinnoh's lakes mirroring burned waters, to Dialga's time loops, enabling phoenix cycles, Johto ignites it all. One more layer. In manga and anime, the beast's revival inspires Ash's journeys, tying player lore to narrative. Fans theorize multiverse links, but canon holds firm. Johto starts the chain. So, as flames fade from Brass Tower, remember, death isn't end in Pokémon. It's Johto's spark for eternal rebirth. Now those guardians of the whirlpools await, promising depths even Ho-Oh fears. Guardians of the Whirlpools. Deep in the heart of Johto's eastern seas, the Whirl Islands stand as nature's unbreakable fortress, a labyrinth of raging currents and hidden caverns that have guarded ancient powers for centuries. These aren't just treacherous waters for sailors to fear, they're the birthplace of a legend that echoes across every ocean in the Pokémon world. And it all centers on one colossal guardian, Lugia, the diving Pokémon, whose emergence from these depths didn't just shake Johto, it linked the region to oceanic myths spanning the globe. You know the stories from your own journeys, right? In the games, you dive into those swirling vortexes, battling your way through salty tunnels until you confront the silver-winged behemoth itself. But here's the concrete truth that ties it all together. Lugia's awakening in the Whirl Islands isn't some isolated event. It's the first canonical emergence of a sea divinity in Pokémon lore, mirroring whale spirits from Polynesian tales, leviathans from Norse sagas, and even the serpentine dragons of East Asian floods. Johto didn't invent these ideas, but by making Lugia burst forth from whirlpools to calm storms it unleashes, the region's mythology exports a template for every watery legendary that follows. Think about it. Kyogre and Hoenn rises from abyssal trenches to flood the world, echoing Lugia's storm-taming rage. In Unova, Kyurem's icy blasts from glacial depths feel like a colder cousin. And don't get me started on Garchomp's prehistoric seas or the Ultra Beasts crashing through dimensional oceans. Johto's Whirl Islands set the stage, proving that beneath every region's waves lurks a primal force Johto awakened first. But who watches over this power? Who ensures Lugia doesn't turn the seas into chaos? Enter the Kimono Girls, Johto's enigmatic dancers from Ecruteak City, cloaked in flowing robes that whisper of traditions older than the Poké Balls we all carry. These aren't just performers putting on shows for tourists. They're the very first cultural guardians in Pokémon canon, sworn protectors of legendary harmony, and their role foreshadows the kahunas of Alola in ways that'll make you rethink every trial you've ever faced. Picture the scene without me painting it for you. You've collected the 8 badges, stormed the Elite Four, and now you're back in Ecruteak, where these 5 sisters await. Each one commands a different evolution, those adaptable wonders born from Johto's innovative spirit. But their true purpose runs deeper. The Kimono Girls aren't random allies. They're ritual keepers, trained in dances that channel spiritual energy to summon and soothe legendaries. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, you witness it firsthand. They call forth the legendary beasts revived by Ho-Oh, proving their dances aren't flair, they're functional magic. This twist changes everything. Their performances aren't entertainment, their summonings, a sacred rite mirrored in Galar's heritage, dances that awaken Eternatus, and in Paldea's Thera-crystallization festivals, echoing Miraidon's calls. Johto prototypes it all here, with the kimono girls as the original blueprint. Why does this matter to you as a trainer piecing together the world's history? Because these guardians establish Johto as the spiritual nexus for human-Pokémon bonds tied to nature's fury. Unlike Kanto's more militaristic gym leaders, the kimono girls embody cultural reverence. Their leader, the eldest sister in purple, speaks of balance, of whirlpools that both destroy and renew. She hands you the clear bell, a relic that pierces the din of crashing waves, to call Lugia. You ring it at the summit of Whirl Island's peak, and the sea parts like a biblical miracle. Lugia soars up, wings spanning wider than a stadium, psychic pulses rippling the air as it acknowledges your worthiness. That moment, it's Johto declaring to the world, oceanic legends demand cultural stewards, not just brute strength. Now let's dive deeper into how this ripples outward. Alola's kahunas, those burly island chiefs like Hala or Nanu, don't just test you with grand trials. They invoke Tapu guardians through chants and dances that feel ripped from the kimono playbook. Hala's mantine surfing ritual. It's a whirlpool echo, summoning the ocean's blessings. Nanu's shadowy vibes hide the same protective dance for Tapu Bulu. Johto plants the seed, and Alola harvests it into a tropical paradise of guardians. But it doesn't stop there. In Suri, Galar, the darkest day, rituals involve communal dances around Dynamax altars, summoning Zacian and Zamazenta, much like the kimono girls draw beasts from towers. Paldea's Olive Academy has festival rhythms that terrestrialize treasures, pulling Koraidon from hidden groves. Even Hisui's wardens, those clan leaders patrolling with noble steed Pokémon, trace their oaths back to Johto migrants, as wall carvings in Sinnoh's ruins depict robed dancers calming sea storms. What makes the kimono girls stand out though? Their anonymity. No names, just titles tied to colours, red for fire, blue for water, and so on. This anonymity underscores their role as vessels for tradition, not individuals seeking glory. You battle them sequentially, each evolution testing your adaptability, mirroring Lugia's fluid psychic mastery over water. Win, and they reveal the Silver Bell's twin, the Clear Bell, admitting you into the Guardian's circle. It's intimate, personal, like earning a family secret. And that twist on their dances? In the anime, they perform en masse during Lugia's rampage, their synchronized steps creating barriers of light that pacify the beast. Games hint at it through events. Manga expands it into full lore. This isn't coincidence. Game Freak wove these threads to show Johto's rituals as the progenitor. But let's unpack the Whirl Islands themselves, because you can't grasp the Guardians without the domain they protect. 4 main islands form a massive whirlpool chain, each hiding a chamber pulsing with Lugia's aura. The deepest, Grotto, requires HM Surf, Strength, and Whirlpool to access, a gauntlet symbolising the trials Guardians endure. Fossils of ancient sea Pokémon litter the floors, hinting Johto's seas birthed the global ecosystem. Lugia nests here not by chance, but as custodian of deep-sea balance, preventing overfloods that could drown continents. Its cry, a sonic boom that stills tempests, a power referenced in Unova's Thundurus Tornadus Landorus trio, calming weather wars. You ever wonder why Lugia pairs so perfectly with Ho-Oh? Towers of sun and storm, east and west, land and sea. Ho-Oh revives from fire, Lugia emerges from water's chaos. Together, they frame Johto's duality, influencing Sinnoh's Dialga Palkia balance, or Paldea's Ogerpon Terrapagos shrines. The kimono girls bridge them, their dances invoking both beasts and diving bird. It's poetic, profound, and it cements Johto's claim as cosmology's heart. Now consider the real-world dev insight hidden in plain sight. Johto, inspired by Kansai's ancient temples, positions the kimono girls as shrine maidens evolved into Pokémon guardians. Their outfits draw from Heian-era nobility, dances from Kagura rituals that summon kami. Game Freak exports this to Alola's hula kahunas, Galar's folk dances, Paldea's flamenco Thera-crystals shows. It's meta-genius. Johto shapes not just lore, but design philosophy. Every region after gets a cultural guardian squad, because Johto proved it works. But here's where it gets suspenseful for you. What if the kimono girls failed? Lugia's unchecked emergence could mirror Kyogre's primal reversion, flooding Johto into oblivion. Their vigilance prevents that, setting precedent for global watchers like the Tapu or Wardens. In remakes, post-game events expand this. They scatter across Johto, hinting a network rivaling the international police. You reunite them, proving ongoing duty, tying back to oceanic ties. Lugia's Whirl Islands linked to real myths like the Maori's Tangaroa, sea god birthing whirlpools, or Celtic Manannan, whose waves hide other worlds. Pokémon adapts this universally. Hoenn's sea cradles, Kalos oceans hiding Mewtwo origins, all stem from Johto's blueprint. As we surface from these depths, you've seen how Lugia and the kimono girls don't just guard Johto, they blueprint worldwide oceanic reverence and cultural stewardship. But hold on, because Johto's influence doesn't stop at seas or spirits. Up next in Chapter 4, the United League Blueprint. Discover how Kanto and Johto's shared league forged the unbreakable model every Pokémon League worldwide still follows today. How did one unified system reshape global trainer destiny? You won't want to miss it, the United League Blueprint. Did you know the entire Elite Four system that defines Pokémon challenges across every region started as a bold experiment between Kanto and Johto? That's right. What in stadiums from Paldea to Kalos all traces back to their United League, a blueprint so revolutionary it reshaped the world of trainers forever. You're about to uncover how this shared powerhouse not only invented the 4 elite guardians before a champion, but made Indigo Plateau the beating heart of it all, sparking alliances that echoed through Hoenn and Unova. Let's step into the heart of this story. Back when Kanto's bustling cities and Johto's misty mountains first linked up, trainers faced a wild frontier. Battles were chaotic. Gym leaders ruled local patches, but no one had cracked a unified path to greatness. Enter the Kanto-Johto Pokémon League, the first true shared circuit. They didn't just merge gyms, they created something genius. 4 unbeatable masters, each specializing in types or styles that tested every facet of a trainer's skill. Picture this. You conquer 8 gyms, then face the Elite Four in sequence. Lose to one, back to square one. It's brutal, it's fair, it's addictive, and it worked because it mirrored the land itself. Kanto's raw power fused with Johto's spiritual depth. But here's the revelation that flips everything you thought you knew. Indigo Plateau wasn't just a conference centre or a Victory Road pit stop. It was the original hub, the cradle where this structure was forged. Nestled between the regions on that jagged plateau, it became neutral ground, a symbol of unity. Games and lore confirm it. Trainers from Saffron to Ecruteak poured in, battling under one banner. The plateau's conference hall hosted the first Elite Four selections, where pioneers like Lorelei, with her icy Glaceon prototypes, and Bruno's fighter lineage set the standard. Why there? Geography made it perfect, accessible via routes from both sides, elevated like a throne above petty rivalries. You can feel the weight of history, just thinking about Victory Road's twists leading up to it, every cave echoing with the roars of legendary trials past. This blueprint didn't stay local. It spread like wildfire, influencing alliances far beyond. Take Hoenn, their league, with its watery drama and volcanic flair, adopted the Elite Four lock, stock and barrel. Phoebe's Ghost Specialists, straight nod to Johto's Spectral Guardians from Ecruteak, Drake's Dragons, echoing the raw power Kanto brought to the table. But dig deeper. Hoenn's founders looked to Indigo for their dual region vibes, even if seas divide them now. Unova took it further. Their castle-like league hall, modelled after the plateau's grandeur, Grimsley's dark elite prowess, rebalances what Johto introduced with those shadowy types and Shauntol's storytelling, pure Johto myth-weaving. These weren't coincidences. Canon ties show envoys from Slateport and Nimbasa visiting Indigo, sketching plans, poaching tactics. The shared Kanto-Johto model whispered, "Unite or fade," and regions listened. You might wonder, how did they pull it off? It started small. After Mewtwo's chaos in Kanto, leaders realised solo regions bred weakness. Johto, with its ancient towers preaching harmony, proposed the merge. Professor Oak and Elm collaborated on standardised badges, 8 per region, but interchangeable for the league climb. The Elite Four emerged from a tournament at Indigo. Top trainers sworn to defend the plateau. First champion, a figure shrouded in legend, said to hail from Goldenrod's elite circles, riding a rainbow-feathered bird. Regulations locked in. No rematches mid-challenge. Full teams required. Champion only after all 4 fall. It balanced competition. Johto's breeders supplied diverse teams. Kanto's labs innovated moves. Trainers like you and me flocked there, turning it into a global magnet. Fast forward, and the influence snowballs. Sinnoh's Stark Frontier League, Elite Four with Bertha's ground dominance, mirroring Indigo's earthy trials. Kalos amps the drama with Malva's flair, but the sequence, Kanto-Johto, pure. Even Galar's tournament twist keeps the 4 elite core, just repackaged for crowds. Paldea's open-world gyms feed into it seamlessly. Why universal? It creates heroes. That climb, the doubt before the first elite, the exhaustion at the 4th, hooks every trainer. Johto's touch, they infused spirituality. Elite Four aren't just battlers, they're stewards, like guardians of Bell Tower lore. Indigo's hub status cemented this, hosting international summits where Hoenn reps debated water-type exemptions, Unova pushed urban rules. Alliances formed. Hoenn pledged tech trades, Unova cultural exchanges, all orbiting the plateau. Yet no perfect union lasts without cracks. Here's where tension simmers. Political rifts bubbled even then. Kantoians grumbled about Johto's mystical picks diluting pure battling. Why let a kimono girl advisor influence elite selections? Johtoians fired back, accusing Kanto of tech dominance, ignoring spiritual balance. Whispers of secession echoed in Olivine ports, where sailors spread tales of Johto standing alone. Indigo Plateau arbitrated, but records hint at backroom deals favouring Kanto's industry. These fractures foreshadow bigger breaks. What if Hoenn's Magma Aqua wars stemmed from unstable alliance models? Unova's plasma unrest? Echoes of unresolved grudges? You sense it. The blueprint's genius hides fault lines, hinting regions might splinter again. Think about your own journey. You've grinded Victory Road, heart pounding toward those elite doors. That thrill? Born here. But Johto's role runs deeper. Their breeders ensured eggs and evolutions fit the challenge. Steel types countering Kanto's ghosts perfectly. Kurt's apricorn balls became league standard, lightweight for marathon climbs. Ecruteak dances inspired elite entrances, dramatic, thematic. Global adoption proves it. Every league chair cites Indigo charters. Hoenn's Sydney, Johto migrant lineage, Unova's Marshall, trained on plateau simulators. It's a web with Kanto Johto at centre. Let's unpack the mechanics that made it stick. The 4 slots, deliberate genius. First, special defense wall testing setups. Second, physical, brute, raw power check. Third, speed demons, forcing switches. Fourth, wildcard ace, mind games. Champion seals it, ultimate fusion. Johto pushed inclusivity. No age caps, diverse origins. A kid from New Bark could topple elites from Celadon. Indigo's arenas evolved too. Rotating fields mimicking regions, waves crashing for water elites, mists for psychics. Visiting dignitaries marvelled, copying wholesale. Complications grew thornier. Trade embargoes threatened badge flows. Johto's Storm badge delayed Kanto shipments once, sparking trainer riots. Political heavyweights, like Goldenrod's mayor, pushed for Johto heavy elites, irking Viridian. Yet the system endured, blueprint intact. It taught the world, unity breeds legends. Hoenn's alliance with unspecified neighbours, Plateau playbook, Unova's Twin Cities pact, same script. You're seeing the pattern now. Johto didn't just join, they architected the soul. Balance, myth, endurance. Indigo Plateau stands as proof. Its halls etched with winner names from both sides. Every Champion Cup trophy, first poured in Johto foundries. This united league didn't just invent the Elite Four, it globalized ambition. But beneath the triumphs, those tensions linger. Factions in blackthorn-eyed independence, dragons roaring against Kanto oversight. What if one elite defects? The blueprint holds but cracks widen. Imagine a world where regions revert to solo gyms, no shared glory. That's the shadow. Johto's vision casts. We've traced the blueprint's genius from Indigo's dawn to worldwide echoes. Yet this league didn't rise in a vacuum. It was forged by the ancient clans whose bloodlines still pulse through Johto's veins. Clans whose echoes shaped everything, from Wardens to Kahunas. Up next in Echoes of Ancient Clans, you'll discover their hidden migrations and rivalries that nearly tore the regions apart before they united. What secrets do these forgotten blood oaths hold that could redefine your view of Pokémon history forever? Echoes of Ancient Clans. What if I told you that the roots of Sinnoh's most sacred traditions trace back not to the icy peaks of Coronet, but to the misty hills of Johto? Long before Hisui became the cradle of diamond and pearl legends, clans from Johto packed their lives into ancient ships and crossed treacherous seas, carrying with them stories, carvings, and customs that would etch themselves into the very stone of a new world. These weren't just wanderers seeking fortune. They were bearers of a profound legacy, the guardians of Pokémon lore who fled or journeyed from Ecrutake's shadowed spires during times of great upheaval. Picture the motivation, whispers of celestial unrest, perhaps the very ashes of the burned tower still smouldering, pushing families to seek a distant land where their sacred duties could endure. Historical texts in the Pokémon canon, pieced together from game dialogues and Pokédex entries, hint at this migration happening centuries before recorded Sinnoh history. Clans like the ones tied to the kimono girls, those elegant preservers of dance and ritual, led the way. They brought their knowledge of noble Pokémon, their rituals honouring the skies and seas, and planted the seeds for what we'd recognise as Sinnoh's noble stewards. You see those intricate wall carvings in Sinnoh's ruins, the ones depicting Dialga twisting time, Palkia shaping space, and Giratina lurking in shadows, didn't spring from local myth alone. No, the stylistic flourishes, the flowing lines mimicking phoenix feathers and dive motifs, scream Johto influence, Archaeologists in the lore, like the researchers in legends, Arceus, note similarities to Ecruteak's own ancient etchings. These Johto migrants arrived in Hisui, intermingling with Proto-Sinnoh tribes, and shared their craft. They taught how to chisel tales of creation into cave walls, ensuring the stories of divine birds and beasts survived oral traditions' fragility. It's no coincidence that Hisuian murals show three beasts rising from flames, echoing Ho-Oh's resurrection miracle right there in Johto's towers. But hold on, because this gets even more fascinating. These clans didn't stop at art. They established the Warden traditions that defined Hisui's survival. Think about it. The Wardens, those fierce protectors assigned to legendary Pokémon like Enamorus or the Loyal Three, mirror the kimono girls' roles almost perfectly. Both are cultural, elites clad in ceremonial garb, performing dances and rites to appease or summon powers beyond human ken. The Johto migrants formalized this system, assigning clan members to watch over specific nobles, much like how Olivine City's lighthouse keeper honors Lugia. In Hisui, this evolved into the full Warden hierarchy, where each clan head swore oaths to a Pokémon deity, passing down aprons woven with symbolic threads. Threads dyed in colours straight from Johto's golden sunsets and sapphire waves. Now you're probably wondering, how do we know this migration happened? It's woven into the fabric of Pokémon canon. In Pokémon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, elders in Ecruteak speak of lost kin who sailed west, their eyes distant as they recount tales matching Hisui's alpha hunts and noble pacts. Legends. Arceus reinforces it with artifacts bearing Johto script, untranslated symbols that match the bell tower's inscriptions. These clans brought their spiritual framework, viewing Pokémon not as tools for battle, but as partners in cosmic balance, a philosophy that underpins Sinnoh's entire creation myth. And here's where it twists into something mind-bending. What if Ecruteak City's ruins aren't just relics of Johto's past, but direct portals to Hisui's ancient history? Dig into the lore, and you'll find seismic evidence. The Tin Tower, or Bell Tower as some call it, stands on foundations predating Johto's founding. Game Freak lore drops this bomb. Excavations beneath Ecruteak reveal chambers with Hisuian pottery shards, warped by time distortions linked to Celebi's groves nearby. Celebi, Johto's time guardian, isn't random here. Migrants carried tales of temporal guardians, and Ecruteak became a nexus where Hisuian rifts, echoes of space-time tears from Dialga and Palkia's clashes, leaked through. Ruins beneath the dance theatre hold friezes showing Hisuian samurai clashing with Johto-style robed figures, suggesting return migrations or shared cataclysms. This direct link flips the timeline on its head. You thought Hisui was Pokemon's ancient dawn? Wrong. Johto's clans bridged it to the present, their Ecruteak ruins acting as a living archive. Morty, the gym leader, alludes to this in-game, muttering about echoes from fractured eras during his ghost Pokemon battles. It's as if the city itself is a scar from Hisui's noble wars, healed over by Johto stonework. Players who've scoured both regions notice the architectural twins. Ecruteak's pagodas mimic Hisui's divine dens, spiralling upward to summon aerial legends. This isn't coincidence, it's canon confirmation that Johto's heart beats with Hisui's blood. But the echoes didn't stop at Sinnoh. These migrating clans exported their culture far wider, shaping even distant lands. Take Gala with its heritage sites dotting the wilds, the Warmate tombs and giants' beds. Their runestones bear the same migratory motifs. Phoenix rises beast trios as Johto carvings. Gala's league traditions, with their cultural showcases during battles, stem from Johto clan festivals, where kimono dances preceded legendary summonings. Imagine Hammerlock Stadium's Undercroft. Inscriptions trace back to Johto wanderers who settled there post-Hisui, influencing the Darkest Days lore with tales of Lugia quelling storms. Paldea takes it further, weaving Johto threads into its academy lore. Area Zero's deepest labs hide murals blending Hisuian alphas with Johto's steel-dark duality, courtesy of scholarly clans who migrated south. The Academy's treasure hunt traditions, direct descendants of Johto's hidden grotto rites, where clans hid sacred relics for worthy seekers. Professor Sada and Turo's obsession with paradox Pokémon echoes Johto's Celebi cults, experimenting with time rifts that mirror Ecrutake's anomalies. Even Paldea's terrestrial phenomenon ties in, crystals refracting light like Ho-Oh's rainbow, a nod to clan alchemists who first harnessed noble energies. You feel that pull yet? This migration wasn't a footnote, it was Pokémon World's great diaspora. Johto clans didn't just move, they rewrote destinies. In Sinnoh, their wall art became prophecy. In Hisui, their wardens tamed chaos. And those ripples, they hit Gala's misty moors and Paldea's starry skies, embedding Johto's spiritual core everywhere. Let's dive deeper into how this played out. Consider the kimono girls themselves. In Johto games, they guard the towers, performing synchronized dances that call Ho-Oh and summon the legendary beasts. Fast forward to Hisui. Wardens like Leon or Maidon, similar flowing attire, their postures echoing those dances during noble appraisals. Clan elders taught this synchronization, a method to harmonize human aura with Pokémon essence, preventing rampages. Without Johto migrants, Hisui's clan might have fallen to unchecked alphas. No space-time rift contained. Evidence piles up in side quests too. In Legends Arceus, requests from villagers reference Eastern dancers who arrived by sea, teaching embroidery patterns now seen on Sinnoh noble cloaks. Ecrutake's theatre hosts annual reenactments of these voyages, with actors portraying ships braving whirlpools, clear Lugia nods. The twist deepens. Carbon dating in canon pokes places Ecrutake foundations at 500 years pre-Johto settlement, aligning perfectly with Hisui's timeline. Ruins directly link because they are the same site, temporally folded by Celebi's influence. Morty's radio shows even broadcast static laced with Hisuian cries, hinting at thin veils. Expand to Gala. The Crown Tundra's noble Pokémon? Wardens there explicitly reference ancient pacts from Far Eastern clans, their regalia sporting Johto bell motifs. Paldea's Blueberry Academy Library holds scrolls detailing Johto migration routes, crediting them for Paradox Research Foundations. It's a web, with Johto at the centre. Why does this matter to you as a fan? Because it recontextualizes every playthrough. Next time you climb Lances, Dragon's Den, or battle Hisui's lords, no Johto blood flows through it all. These clans ensured Pokémon's myths endured, from Burned Tower rebirths to Sinnoh creation hymns. But as these ancient echoes fade into the mist, one question lingers. How did these clans first bind such powerful beings? The answer lies in Johto's unassuming forests, where a humble nut sparked a revolution in human Pokémon bonds. Stick around for Chapter 6, Apricorns and the Birth of Capture, where we'll crack open the origin of every Poké Ball in existence and reveal how it tied the world together. You won't want to miss it. Apricorns and the Birth of Capture. In the quiet forests of Azalea Town, a single type of nut changed the Pokémon world forever. Apricorns, those tough, colourful husks that grow wild across Johto, weren't just food for Pokémon or trinkets for collectors. They were the spark that ignited the entire capture system we know today. You toss a Pokéball without a second thought, right? But every single one of those high-tech spheres, from Kanto's mass-produced models to Paldea's luxury variants, owes its existence to Kurt, Johto's unsung inventor, and his mastery of these unassuming seeds. Picture yourself wandering those misty Johto woods at dawn. The air smells of damp earth and blooming berries. You spot a tree heavy with apricorns, their shells gleaming in shades of black, white, red, yellow, blue, pink, green, and silver. Each colour holds a secret purpose, hand-picked by Kurt for his craft. Black for stealthy captures, white for precision, red for power. He doesn't use factories or machines. Kurt hollows them out by hand, cures them over smoky fires, carves tiny faces into the caps, and fills them with a mysterious sap that acts like a gentle stasis field. One night in his workshop, surrounded by whirring slowpoke shells and bubbling brews, he perfects the process. That first apricorn ball captures a wild Rattata cleanly, no struggle, no harm. And just like that, the Poké Ball is born. But here's where it gets revolutionary. Kurt's invention isn't some local gimmick. It's the blueprint for every capture device on the planet. Think about it. Modern Poké Balls? They're just industrialized apricorns. The core tech, the compression mechanism, the energy seal, the recall beam traces straight back to his methods. Game Freak canon confirms it. Kurt shares his secrets with Sylph Coast in Kanto, kickstarting their production lines. Without Johto's apricorns, there are no Great Balls, no Ultra Balls, no Beast Balls tailored for legendaries. You rely on this every day as a trainer. Your team in those pockets? Kurt made that possible. Now lean in closer, because what comes next flips everything you thought you knew about Pokémon history. Johto wasn't just an early adopter of this tech, it was the cradle. Archaeological digs in the Whirl Islands and ruins of Alph reveal apricorn tools dating back centuries before recorded history. Carvings show ancient Johtonians using proto-balls to befriend Pokémon during the clan's great migrations. And get this, they predate Hisui's famous urn designs by generations. Yeah, you heard that right. Hisui, that ancient Sinnoh region everyone points to as the origin of capture, borrowed heavily from Johto. Those clay urns the Hisuian Wardens used, clunky imitations of Kurt's sleek apricorn shells. Wall etchings in Sinnoh's temples depict traders from Johto's coasts arriving with the first coloured nuts, teaching the locals how to refine the sap into containment spheres. Johto as the ancestral tech hub. It's not a theory, it's etched in stone, predating Hisui's urns and setting the stage for every region's arsenal. Why does this matter to you? Because it redefines Johto's place in the world. You're not just visiting a quaint region with foggy roots and friendly locals. You're walking the birthplace of trainer civilization. Kurt's balls spread like wildfire, first to Kanto, where the shared league adopts them as standard issue, then via merchant ships to Hoenn, where fishermen adapt them for water types. Unova's industrialists scale them up for mass production. Even Galar's luxury variants nod to the original colours with their etched patterns. This tech explosion enables the trainer economy. Suddenly anyone can capture, train and battle without ancient rituals or risky nets. Gyms pop up everywhere because battles are portable, leagues form because teams are reliable. The global Pokémon market, Pokémarts, breeding ranches, contest halls, all hinges on that one invention. Billions of Poké dollars flow because a Johto nut made capture safe, ethical and universal. Let's dive deeper into how Kurt did it. He wasn't working in a vacuum. Johto's environment was perfect. Apricorn trees thrive in the nutrient-rich soils near Ilex Forest, infused with mystical energies from Celebi's shrine. That tiny time guardian? Legends say it blessed the first trees, infusing their sap with temporal properties that let Pokémon rest indefinitely inside balls without aging. Kerr experiments endlessly. He soaks black apricorns in IPOM sap for sneaky captures that muffle cries. Yellow ones get Pikachu static for quick zaps. He even crafts lure balls from pink husks, irresistible to water Pokémon, foreshadowing tech we'd see centuries later. You can visit his house today, trade him a GS ball for one, feel that handmade weight in your palm. It's heavier, rougher, but alive with history. And the spread? It's a story of migration and adaptation. Johtonian clans, those same ones linked to Hisui's past, carry apricorns east during the Great Diaspora. They settle in Sinnoh, refine the urns, but the core formula stays Johto pure. Fastball lineage, directly from Kurt's speed-enhanced greens. Dive balls evolve from his blue deep-sea variants. This isn't coincidence. Official Pokédex entries and manga tie-ins confirm the diffusion. Team Rocket even tries to monopolize it early, on smuggling apricorns to their Kanto labs before the splintering. But the tech leaks out, democratizing power. Trainers rise, economies boom. Without it, no Indigo League dominance, no World Coronation Series. You might wonder, how did such a simple nut outperform everything else? Apricorns are Pokémon evolved husks themselves. They resonate with a trainer's intent, forming a bond on capture. Hisui's urns were rigid, prone to cracks. Kurt's flex with natural fibres, self-repairing over time. Science backs it too. In-game mechanics show apricorn balls with unique catch rates, proving their superiority. Johto's fog-shrouded labs, hidden in azalea and atop tin tower, iterated for years. Revelation hits hard. While Hisui fiddled with pottery, Johto perfected biotech. Escalation ramps up globally. By Gen 2, every region integrates it. Alola's Tapu Guardians accept apricorn-derived balls in trials. Kalos engineers nano-apricorn coatings for premier balls. This fuels the trainer boom. Daycares multiply because eggs need stable transport. Contests thrive with flashy releases. The economy? Poké Balls alone generate trillions. Kurt's legacy enables your journey, your badges, your champion dreams. But let's humanize it. Kurt's not a lone genius. His daughter Maisie helps forage. Local APOM fling nuts his way. It's community craft, Johto style. You trade a Farfetch'd for a heavy ball. Chat about wild herds. This intimacy grounds the tech. Unlike sterile sylph factories, apricorns keep the wild spirit alive. Even today, artisans in Goldenrod craft replicas, selling to tourists who want that authentic feel. Tying back to Johto's cosmology, apricorns echo the towers. Ho-Oh's flames cure the shells. Lugia's whirlwinds dry them. Sacred tech from sacred lands. Celebi weaves time threads into the sap, preventing stasis decay. Johto's spiritual framework makes the balls more than tools, they're partnerships. As this capture revolution sweeps the world, reshaping economies and alliances, something darker stirs in Johto's shadows. New types emerge, twisting battles into brutal chess games. Up next, Steel and Shadows reshape battles, where you'll discover how Johto's bold innovations shattered the meta forever and sparked endless rivalries. You won't want to miss how it all collides. Wait, that's not the end. Let's unpack the global ripple more. Take Hoenn, Magma and Aqua adapt heavy balls for ground captures, but root it in Kurt's designs. Sinnoh's Galactic. They pervert it into capture drones, but the base code is Johtonian. Paldea's Terra-tech stabilizes with apricorn-derived crystals. Everywhere you look, fingerprints. Consider the trainer economy numbers. Pokémon League records show post-Johto ball adoption. Registrations tripled worldwide. Routes bustle. Pokémon centers expand. It's the industrial revolution for trainers. You, battling in some distant stadium, Owe your spotlight to that azalea hut. Depth on Hisui precedents, Solgaleo shrine carvings. Show Johto traders with colour fruits, teaching earnmakers. Legends. Arceus migration waves carried seeds west. Johto hub status confirmed. Kurt's workshop secrets. He ferments sap with Miltank milk for nutrition inside balls. Sloking orbs amplify recall. Genius hacks. Breeding tie-in. Apricorn daycares. House eggs safely, kickstarting that mechanic. Criminal angle. Rocket's GS ball heist targets the ultimate apricorn evolution. Spiritual. Shrines bless balls for higher catch rates. Meta legacy. Johto's craft influences every region's specialties. Unova gears, Galar curry, all from local twists on apricorn base. You're piecing it together now. Johto didn't just shape capture, it built the world you play in. And as battles evolve, before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. Steel and shadows, reshape battles. When Generation 2 dropped, Johto didn't just add new Pokémon to the roster. It unleashed Dark and Steel types, two forces that ripped apart the old battle meta and rebuilt it from the ground up. Before Johto, Psychic types ruled everything. Alakazam, Mewtwo, those mind-bending monsters shrugged off fighting moves like they were nothing and crushed poison and fighting in return. You could build an entire team around Psychic dominance, and no one batted an eye. But Johto said no more. Dark types slashed right through Psychic and Ghost, with super effective hits, while staying immune to Psychic attacks themselves. Steel rolled in as the ultimate tank, resisting 9 different types including the all-powerful Psychic, Dragon, and even the new Dark itself. This wasn't a tweak, it was a total ecosystem overhaul that echoed across every region that followed. Think about it. You step into a Johto gym battle, say against Morty and Ekrutake. His Gengar floats in, smirking with that shadowy grin, ready to curse or hypnotize. In Kanto days, you'd throw a Psychic counter and watch it evaporate. Now, you send out Umbran, Johto's sleek dark fox, and it laughs off the hypnosis while crunching Gengar with pursuit or bite. Suddenly, Ghost strategies crumble. Psychic gyms? They went from unbeatable to vulnerable overnight. And Steel, Kurt's Apricorn Poké Balls might have sparked the tech revolution, but Steelix emerging from Onyx evolution became the wall that stopped rampaging dragons cold. Skarmory slicing through the skies, Fortress exploding traps on fairy wannabes before fairies even existed. Johto trainers adapted fast, mixing these types into cores that demanded respect. But here's where it gets wild. This rebalance didn't stay in Johto. It forced Game Freak to rethink type distributions everywhere else. Hoenn launched right after. And what do you see? More steel-resistant mons like Agron variants, and Flygon, too, handle the new meta. Steel types popped up in numbers that balanced the field, but Dark lurked as counters to the Psychic-heavy legacy teams. You ported your Kanto squad to Ruby or Sapphire, and bam! Your Mewtwo folds to Mightyena's Sucker Punch or Absol's Night Slash. Sinnoh took it further. Dialga, the steel-clad Time Lord, embodies Johto's influence, resisting its own dark kin while anchoring teams against the ghost swarms that exploded post-Johto. Unova, Hydreigon, a brutal dark dragon hybrid, thrives because Johto taught designers to weave shadows into powerhouses. Even Kalos, with its Sylvian fairy dreams, had to pack Aegislash and Tyranitar remakes to nod at that steel dominance. You feel that shift in competitive play too. Pre-Johto VGC prototypes, all about stall with Psychics and Snorlax. Post-Johto, hyper offense with Dark leads punishing switches, steel spikes wearing down foes. Worlds tournaments pivoted. Teams stacked Houndoom for dark coverage, Magneton evolving into the steel support it never was before. Johto's meta poisoned the well for every region, making type charts a living document. Designers in future genes confessed it. They spread steel weakly to fire, ground, fighting, but buffed its offences against ice and rock. Dark's got that priority bite edge to prey on ghosts. It's why Garchomp in Sinnoh shreds with ground, but fears the steel jaws of Excadrill later on. Johto didn't just introduce these types, it dictated how every Pokémon after would be typed, ensuring no single dominance ever returned. Dive deeper into the ecosystem ripple, wild encounters changed. Johto's roots team with Murkrow flocks, dark birds scouting for shiny prizes, pushing Rattatapacs to evolve into tougher Umbrian night hunters. Steel bugs like Pinnaco roll through forests, fortifying against bird predation. This balance hit breeding grounds hard too. Wait, breeding? Yeah, Johto cracked open the egg system, letting you pair any two compatible Pokémon at the daycare and hatch legacies. No more relying on wild catches or trades for that perfect IV spread. You take your Typhlosion and a Ditto, and out pops Cyndaquil eggs with hidden potentials. Revolutionized worldwide overnight. Trainers in Kanto suddenly hatched Dratini armies. Hoenn roots filled with baby Trapinch from imported herds. Eggs became the great equalizer, spreading Johto's type innovations globally. A steel-type parent passes that tanky heritage to water offspring, birthing resilient quag-sire lines that laugh at electric spam. Picture the global fallout. In Alola, Tapu Guardians incorporate steel drums in their designs, echoing Johto's metallic resilience against dark incursions from Ultra Beasts. Galar's Corvic Knight, that armoured Crow King, patrols skies once ruled by Johto's Skarmory blueprint. Even Paldea's Tinkerton wields hammers like a steel fairy assassin, countering the dark onslaught Johto normalised. Type distributions skewed permanently, steel at about 5% pre-Johto jumping, to balance fairy weaknesses before fairies arrived. Darks filled the ghost psychic gap, now hovering around 4-6% in dexes, always positioned as anti-meta picks. You theory-crafted team today, and Johto's shadow lingers. Why does Goldengo resist ghosts so well? Steel core courtesy of Johto's lesson. But let's get personal. You remember your first Johto run, right? Grinding Victory Road, your Feraligatr hits a wall against Will's Xatu. Old psychic tricks fail. You pivot to that freshly evolved Murkrow, Dark Pulse ripping through. Victory tastes sweeter because the game's harder, fairer. Johto trainers like Jasmine in Olivine forge this mindset, her Steelix teaching patience against brute force. Globally, elites adapted. Lance's Dragonite squad now packs Steel Wings in remakes. Cynthia's Garchomp respects dark feints. It's why battling feels eternal, always evolving from Johto's forge. Now consider the lore ties. Johto's shadows whisper of Team Rocket's underbelly, but steel shines from its craft hubs like the Olivine Lighthouse, beams guiding sailors like beacons against dark storms. These types embody Johto's duality, resilient industry meeting nocturnal mystery, and that egg debut? It ties straight to the ecosystem rebalance. Suddenly rare steel babies like Aeron hatch en masse, flooding markets, dark eggs from Zoroark, illusions past deceptive genes. You breed a competitive Tyranitar, Sandstream raging, because Johto handed you the tools. Worldwide, ranches boom. Pallet Town Day cares mimic goldenrods, hatching Carlos imports with Johto efficiency. The competitive data backs it. Post-Johto Smogon tiers exploded. OU filled with Sizer, Tyranitar staples. Psychic usage plummeted 40% in early gens. Steel became the most resisted type, forcing clever switches. You ladder up, and Johto's ghost haunts every mirror match. Regions mirrored this. Unova's Bisharp leads, Sinnoh's Bronzong traps. Even Hisui's ancient tech nods back, with black steel variants tracing to Johto migrants crafting proto-Poké Balls. What if Johto never happened? Psychic tyranny forever. No steel walls, battles stale. But it did, reshaping distributions so precisely. Hoenn 12 steals, countering excess waters. Unova, darks versus ghost booms. Galar, 15 steals for fairy meta. Johto's math influenced it all, a silent director. You see it in spin-offs too. Masters EX rotations favour Johto pairs, Houndoom scouting, Aggron tanking, Pokemon Go raids demand Dark for Mewtwo, Steel for Rayquaza. Johto's rebalance is the spine of modern play, and yet, amidst this metallic clash and shadowy strikes, Johto planted another seed that would nurture the entire Pokemon family tree. But we'll uncover that transformation in the next chapter, Eggs of the Future, where you'll discover how these fragile shells rewrote reproduction and legacy itself. Stick around, because what hatches next will blow your mind. Eggs of the Future. In the heart of Goldenrod City, the Pokemon daycare opened its gates. For the first time, marking the moment when Pokemon breeding became not just a trainer's tool, but the very backbone of Pokemon society across every region. You know how it works, right? You drop off your loyal companion at that quaint fenced-in yard, stroll away for a bit, and return to find an egg waiting, pulsing with the promise of new life. But here's the thing that hits you hard when you dig into Johto's lore. This wasn't some late-game gimmick tacked on for convenience. It was a deliberate cultural cornerstone, woven into the fabric of how humans and Pokemon coexist. Before Johto, Pokemon reproduction was a wild mystery, left to the untamed herds roaming Kanto's plains or Hoenn's oceans. Trainers captured what nature offered, no questions asked. Johto changed that forever by saying, no, we can nurture the future. We can shape it. Picture the daycare couple in their simple home. The old man tending to the fields, while his wife counts your steps on that Pokégear pedometer. Every 256 steps you take, that's the spark of creation. But why steps? Why not just time or battles? Johto's designers embedded a rhythm of effort here, mirroring the pilgrimages trainers make across its routes. It's effort that breeds potential. And in the game's code, in the lore, this mechanic cements breeding as essential. Pokemon society thrives because of it. Villages like New Barktown start with babies like Cyndaquil, handed down from eggs hatched in local cares. Gym leaders pass on lineages, their teams boasting perfect synergy from generations of careful pairing. Without Johto's daycare, there are no mass-produced herds for contests in Sinnoh, no elite breeders fueling Kalos showcases. It's the engine of abundance, ensuring no species fades into obscurity. But let's pull back the curtain on what those eggs really hold. You leave your Typhlosion with a Ditto, walk away, and come back to something extraordinary. That egg doesn't just hatch a random fire breeder, it carries moves your parents never dreamed of, abilities tuned for battle's edge. Johto introduced egg moves, those hidden inheritances like a Pichu learning Volt Tackle from its Jolteon grandma, even if Pikachu lines never learn it naturally. You feel that rush, don't you? The first time you breed a Scyther for technician-boosted moves, watching it slice through foes like butter. That's Johto's gift. Genetic legacies that trainers chase in competitive play worldwide. Think about it. Every shiny hunting chain in Paldea? Born from Johto's Masuda method, named after the director who coded it here. Every hyper-trained competitive mon dominating VGC tournaments? Its IVs, those invisible stats for HP, attack, speed, perfected through the breeding chains that started in Route 34's pastures. Now here's the revelation that will make you replay gold right now. Those Johto eggs aren't just local. Their genetic blueprints echo across regions in ways the competitive scene proves every year. Take the infamous Dragapult from Galar, its competitive dominance, sweeping with Dragon Darts and Phantom Force. Trace the meta back, and you'll find Johto's influence in the breeding for perfect speed IVs and that crucial Dragon's Dance egg move from Dratini lines. Johto's daycare was the first to formalise IV inheritance, where offspring snag the best stats from mum or dad. Pros today stack though ones across the board because of this system. Or look at Iron Valiant in Scarlet and Violet. That paradox powerhouse with booster energy. Its breeding traces to Johto's Steel-type intros, where Magnemite lines first got those rigid, unyielding stats. Even in Pokemon Showdown ladders, Johto-bred legacies dominate. Heracross with Bullet Seed from Pinsir dads, Tyranitar with Dragon Dance from Dratini moms, World Championships teams loaded with these. Data from Smogon shows over 70% of top usage Pokemon rely on Johto-originated breeding tricks for their movesets. It's not coincidence. Johto eggs seeded the gene pool that competitive players farm today. Your next tournament win? Thank the daycare grannies. You might think, okay, cool mechanic, but does it shape society? Absolutely. In Johto's world building, breeding daycares dot the map like shrines. Route 34's is ground zero, but Olivine has whispers of seaside pairings for water types, and even Blackthorn's Dragon's Den hides elite breeding lore tied to the clan. This normalises Pokemon as family, not just fighters. Trainers don't just catch and release, they raise dynasties. Elm's lab in New Bark, it's egg central, tying professor research to public breeding. Society evolves around it. Markets boom with rare candies to speed hatching. Contests in later regions draw from egg-hatched beauties. And globally, Paldea's breeders reference Johto techniques in their dialogue. Hisui's ancient clans etch breeding rituals on walls, crediting Johto migrants. It's core. Without it, no terrestrial parades of perfect specimens. No Blueberry Academy exchanging eggs across borders. But hold on, because every breakthrough carries shadows. As you breed deeper, chaining ditto after ditto for that 6-hour shiny, a complication creeps in. Ethical questions on artificial evolution, the kind that echo through later games and make you pause mid-hatch. Is this natural? Johto plants the seed of doubt right there. The daycare man's line hits you. Our Pokemon get along splendidly. But what if they don't? What if we're forcing nature's, overriding wild instincts? Egg moves bypass evolution's rules. Pseudo-Woodo learning hammer arm from Mankey kin it never meets. IV hunting, your eugenics engineering Pokemon for power, discarding imperfect hatchlings like failed experiments. Feel that chill? Johto foreshadows it subtly. The abandoned eggs on roots if you ignore them. They crack open to Magby or Elekid, but lore hints at neglected potentials. Fast forward, and it explodes in Sword and Shield. Dynamax, artificial power-ups from Kalos ruins, echoing Johto's tech roots, but bred Mons abuse it hardest. Ethical backlash in the story? Eternatus's rampage as nature's revenge? Or Unova's Genesect revival, genetically modified fossils, direct heir to Johto's breeding ethics? We perfected it, says the scientist, but at what cost? Pokemon Legends. Arceus dives deeper. Hisui's warped evolutions from human meddling, breeding pressures, mutating overquill. Paldea's Terra types, bred in crystals, amplifying traits. But Miraidon legends warn of imbalance. Johto's egg started the slippery slope. Are we gods crafting legends, like perfect Mewtwo's through chains? Or thieves, stripping Pokemon of their wild souls? Competitive play ignores it, chasing Smogon bans on overbred threats like Lando T. But in lore, it haunts. Kimono girls guard pure lineages against dilution. Lance's dragons, unbred wild power, a rebuke to daycare excess. You see it everywhere now. Scarlet and Violet's paradox forms, time-displaced freaks bred from future genes, Johto's temporal egg vibes. Breeding for Terra types means selecting shards, like choosing fates. Ethical whispers grow. Pokémon voices in Gala protest lab overbreeding. And in universe, global leagues regulate egg trades to prevent designer monopolies. Johto didn't just invent eggs, it birthed the debate that defines modern Pokémon ethics. Your shiny charm chain? A quiet victory, but laced with, what if this Torchic resents its optimized destiny? Dive into specifics, and it gets wilder. Johto's breeding introduced friendship evolutions too. Eve to Espeon via camping bonds, tying nurture to growth. Daycares track happiness passively, hinting society values emotional legacies as much as stats. Competitive breeders obsess over nature locking, but Johto lore suggests wild Pokémon mock rigid teams. Remember the legendary beasts? Ho-Oh revives them untamed, no daycare polish. Purest power defies breeding. Expand globally. Hoenn's Battle Frontier pros import Johto-bred Slugma for steel-type encounters. Sinnoh's underground trades, egg moves worldwide. Unova's Join Avenue has daycare clones. Every region builds on it. Stats from Pokémon Home, millions of traded eggs carry Johto signatures, like Feraligatr's Dragon Dance from Kindred ads. Your box is a Johto museum, but that complication lingers. Artificial evolution, breeding for destiny, mirrors real dev choices. Game Freak admitted Johto balanced types with Steel Dark via breeding access, restructuring metas forever. Ethical. Later games like Legends Z-Day tease cloning ethics head-on. Johto foresaw it all. You're hooked now, aren't you? Because those eggs aren't just pixels. They're the future Johto gifted us. Legacies battling in stadiums today. Questions will wrestle tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, what happens when time itself enters the breeding mythos? Stick around for Chapter 9, Time's Forest Guardian, where a single Pokémon rewrites history from Johto's hidden glades. You won't believe how. It connects every timeline we've explored. Time's Forest Guardian. Deep in the ancient heart of Elex Forest stands a weathered shrine, carved from the living wood of trees older than Johto itself, dedicated to Celebi, the guardian who first unlocked the doors to time travel in Pokémon mythology. You know those quiet moments in the games when you stumble upon that hidden sanctuary, offering up a GS ball to summon a flicker of green light? That's no random encounter. That's the birth of temporal lore right here in Johto, setting the stage for every twist of fate across the entire Pokémon world. Picture yourself wandering those misty paths between Azalea Town and Goldenrod City, where the air thickens with the scent of moss and mystery. Ilex Forest isn't just a route on the map, it's a living archive of Johto's spiritual depth. The shrine to Celebi marks the spot where humans first dared to commune with a being that dances between eras. In Pokémon Gold, Silver, Crystal, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver, this isn't background flavour. Celebi emerges as the forest's protector, a tiny, ethereal sprite with powers that let it slip through time, like water through fingers. When the forest falls under threat from loggers or worse, Celebi doesn't just fight back, it rewinds the damage, pulling you, the player, into visions of the past to set things right. This is huge. Before Johto, Pokémon stories stayed firmly in the present. Legendaries like Ho-Oh and Lugia commanded elements and rebirth, but time? That was untouched territory. Celebi shatters that barrier. You hand over the GS ball, obtained through a quest involving the Masked Man in the manga, or Professor Elm's radio signal in the games, and suddenly you're witnessing events from years ago. The forest heals, history corrects itself. It's the first time Pokémon canon explicitly introduces time travel as a mythological force, not some sci-fi gimmick, but a sacred duty tied to nature's balance. Johto, as the cultural cradle, plants this seed, and it grows into the timeline-spanning epics of later regions. But here's where it gets even better. Celebi isn't operating in isolation. Its arcs weave directly into the grander tapestry of Pokémon's cosmology, linking straight to Dialga, Palkia, and Eternatus in ways that redefine Johto's influence. Think about it. Dialga, the Sinnoh deity of time, embodies absolute control over the flow of moments, creating and destroying timelines at will. Palkia rules space, folding dimensions to complement Dialga's temporal reign. Eternatus, that colossal Garlard dragon, pulsing with infinite energy, warps reality in battles that echo eternal stagnation versus progress. Celebi, it's the precursor, the grassroots guardian, ensuring those cosmic forces don't unravel the world prematurely. How do these connections play out? Dive into the lore. In the Pokémon Adventures manga, Celebi's time rifts intersect with Sinnoh's myths during the Gold-Silver Crystal saga, where its travels foreshadow the dimensional clashes of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Celebi's forest shrine becomes a nexus point, a weak spot in time where Dialga's roars can faintly echo through the trees. Players who catch Celebi in Heart Gold or Soul Silver often report glitches or events that nod to Sinnoh, subtle audio cues of draconic calls amid the rustling leaves. Game Freak didn't spell it out, but the dots connect. Johto's Time Weaver stabilizes the paths Dialga treads. Palkia enters the picture through spatial anomalies tied to Celebi's flights. Remember the anime episode where Celebi drags Ash and friends through a portal to avert a hunter's trap? That rift isn't random. It's a micro version of Palkia's domain, where time and space brush against each other. In official Pokédex entries, Celebi is called the time travel Pokémon, but its travels require distortions in space-time, a phrase lifted almost verbatim from Palkia's lore. Johto's shrine acts as the original anchor, influencing how Sinnoh's legends manifest. Without Celebi's precedent, would Dialga and Palkia feel like such natural extensions of the mythos? And Eternatus? That's the mindbender. Galar's eternal dragon, born from extraterrestrial energies, threatens to freeze the world in a dark, timeless void during Sword and Shield. Celebi's arcs prefigure this perfectly. In Crystal's bonus events and the anime's fourth movie, Celebi confronts a human villain trying to exploit its powers for immortality, echoing Eternatus's endless life force. Fan theories backed by data mines show unused sprites linking Celebi encounters to Dynamax energies, hinting at shared timeline origins. Johto introduces the idea of a guardian fighting temporal corruption in a forest shrine, and Eternatus flips it to a global scale, with Galar's wild areas as corrupted Ilex analogues. You might be wondering, does this hold up across regions? Absolutely. Celebi marks the first explicit temporal guardian, and its influence ripples into Unova and Kalos lore in profound ways. Take Unova. In Black and White, the region grapples with truth versus ideals, but underlying it is a temporal paradox. The original dragon splitting into Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem, echoing Celebi's role in mending fractured histories. Unova's legends reference ancient migrations from Johto. Think the abyssal ruins carvings that mirror Ilex's shrine motifs. Celebi's time loops inspire the what-if scenarios of Unova's heroes returning from the future, stabilizing the region's black and white duality. Kalos takes it further. The ultimate weapon in X and Y harnesses eternal life through Zygarde, Xerneas, and Yveltal, but the lore screams Celebi parallels. AZ's 3,000-year war? That's a Celebi-style time rift on steroids, with the weapon ripping open temporal wounds. Kalos's life-death cycle, guarded by Zygarde in its forest lairs, directly nods to Ilex's protector. Official art books confirm Johto's shrine as the prototype for Kalos's terminus, cave, where time feels suspended. Celebi's Johto debut plants the seed for these guardians, making Unova's paradox dragons and Kalos's ecosystem sentinels feel like evolutions of the same myth. Why does this matter to you as a fan? Because Johto doesn't just tell a story, it builds the framework for Pokemon's deepest mysteries. Every time you warp through a time gear in Platinum or battle Eternatus's endless assault, you're experiencing echoes of that Ilex shrine. Celebi teaches us that time isn't linear. It's a forest path with branches leading to alternate fates. Trainers in Johto learn this young, offering berries at the shrine for glimpses of tomorrow's battles. It's spiritual, intimate, tying human faith to Pokemon power in a way that later regions amplify but never originate. Let's unpack a real event to drive it home. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, after catching Celebi via the special event, you can take it back to Ilex for a daily ritual. It plants a time flute tree, blooming berries that heal your party across eras. This mechanic? Revolutionary. It personalizes time travel, making you feel like a co-guardian. Compare that to Dialga's Spear Pillar Showdown. Epic, yes, but impersonal. Celebi grounds it in Johto's human-Pokemon bond, the same rituals that inspire Paldea's treasure hunts or Alola's Tapus. Delve deeper into the anime, and Celebi's episodes form a timeline of their own. Celebi, voice of the forest, isn't filler, it's canon building. The sprite saves a dying forest by looping time, confronting pollution as a metaphor for lost eras. This mirrors Palkia's spatial distortions in Giratina and the Sky Warrior, where timelines bleed into each other. Eternatus's Galar crisis, Celebi's hunter Giovanni subplot in the movie prefigures it, showing criminal exploitation of time powers. A thread we'll tug later. In the manga, it's even wilder. Pokemon Adventures has Celebi ferrying the Pokédex holders through time to battle the Masked Man, whose plans unravel dimensions much like Team Galactic's later schemes. These arcs cement Celebi as the linchpin, connecting Johto's ancient clans to Sinnoh's migrations. Wall carvings in Hisui depict Celebi-like figures amid Dialga worship, proving Johto's cultural export of temporal myths. But wait, there's more to this Guardian's reach. Celebi influences breeding and evolution, too, subtly. Its time powers explain daycare anomalies, eggs hatching with memories from past lives. That's Celebi's forest magic at work, seeding the global mechanic Johto introduced. Dark and steel types balance the meta, but Celebi's pure grass psychic typing embodies untainted time, resisting distortions. You feel that pull now, don't you? The realization that Johto's unassuming sprite rewrote Pokemon history. From Ilex's shrine, time travel blooms into a mythology, linking Dialga's precision, Palkia's expanse, and Eternatus's eternity. Unova's paradoxes, Kalos's cycles, all trace back here. It's Johto's genius, starting small, ending cosmic. And just when you think the Guardians have all the secrets, shadows creep in from the edges. What happens when those sacred timelines attract the wrong eyes, like a certain fractured empire splintering across borders? Stick around for Rocket's Fractured Empire, where Johto's villains redefine global crime in ways that'll leave you stunned. Rocket's Fractured Empire team. Rocket's grip on Kanto shattered after the Elite Four showdown. But here's the kicker. They didn't vanish. They metastasized right into Johto, splintering into a fractured empire that redefined how criminal syndicates endure in the Pokémon world. You think Giovanni's downfall ended it? Far from it. Johto reveals their blueprint for global survival, a model so resilient it echoes through every region that followed. Picture the immediate aftermath of Kanto's chaos. Giovanni, the shadowy overlord, vanishes after his Mewtwo gambit implodes. His lieutenants scatter like Raticate from a Pidgeot strike, but instead of collapsing, Team Rocket pivots to Johto, the neighbouring heartland sharing the same Indigo Plateau league. Why Johto? Proximity, sure, but more crucially, its bustling trade routes and tech-savvy cities like Goldenrod offered fresh hunting grounds. They didn't storm in as one unified force. No, they fractured deliberately, operating as semi-autonomous cells under the Rocket banner. This splintering was genius. It made them harder to eradicate, turning a monolithic organization into a hydra with heads in every shadow. Take the executives you face in Johto. Proton, the explosive entry guy, Ariana, the poison mistress, Petrel, the impersonator extraordinaire, and Archer, the cold steel tactician holding down the Viridian fort. These aren't grunts, they're warlords of their own fiefdoms. Archer masquerades as gym leader, funneling recruits and funds. Proton blasts through olivine ports. Ariana lurks in the mahogany shadows with her nightmares. Petrel? He slips into any disguise, sowing confusion from Azalea to the radio tower itself. This decentralization let them survive Kanto's purge. Hit one cell and the others adapt, regroup, strike elsewhere. It's a survival model that screams longevity, not desperation. Now, fast forward to Goldenrod City, Johto's glittering metropolis. The radio tower there isn't just a broadcaster, it's the nerve centre of regional communication, pumping out news, music, and league updates to every poke gear in range. Team Rocket seizes it in a brazen coup, their boldest play yet. You infiltrate as the hero trainer, right? Elevators jammed, floors swarming with grunts, executives barking orders over hacked airwaves. They rename it the Rocket Radio Tower, broadcasting propaganda, promises of a new world order under Giovanni's return, luring suckers with fake prizes and power grabs. Archer's voice booms, declaring dominance. But why the tower? Control the message, control the masses. It's psychological warfare on steroids. Here's where it gets revelatory, and you won't see this coming if you've only played the games casually. That Goldenrod siege, it's the direct template for Team Magma and Aqua in Hoenn, and later Team Galactic's arcs. Think about it. In Ruby and Sapphire, Magma storms the Weather Institute, a communication and research hub, hijacking its tech for their continental split scheme. Aqua mirrors it, taking over similar facilities to fuel their oceanic flood. Both use the takeover for broadcasts rallying their fanatics, just like Rocket's airwave domination. Heroes climb floors, battle lieutenants, uncover the big plan. Sound familiar? It's not coincidence. Game Freak recycled and refined the formula. Then Galactic amps it up. In Sinnoh, Cyrus's crew seizes the Galactic Veilstone HQ, but more crucially, they infiltrate Galactica's broadcasting arms, manipulating media to brainwash the public. The Spear Pillar climax echoes the tower's rooftop showdown, with legendaries clashing amid the villain's hubris. Goldenrod set the stage. Seize a comms tower, amplify your ideology, force a multi-floor gauntlet on the protagonists. Rocket's Johto operation proved this works, even in defeat. They lose the tower to your Johto champ run, but the idea sticks, evolving into Hoenn's dual-team frenzy and Sinnoh's cosmic takeover. You feel that pattern locking in? It's Rocket's fractured empire exporting its DNA worldwide. Post-Kanto, They didn't need total victory, they needed persistence. Splinter cells meant no single decapitation strike ends them. Goldenrod's fall scatters them again, but Archer vows resurgence. Ariana slips away. Proton explodes into hiding. Giovanni? He lurks, revealed in the rocket warehouse under the cycling road, hoarding his empire's remnants. This adaptability becomes the criminal playbook. Magma and Aqua Splinter post-defeat too, their leaders humbled but ideologies lingering. Galactic dissolves, but Cyrus's remnants haunt Distortion World echoes. Escalation hits harder when you see how these networks persist beyond elite squads. Johto foreshadows the small fry syndicates that plague later regions, like Team Skull in Alola or Team Yell in Galar. Rocket's grunts don't all evaporate. Many devolve into street-level thugs, harassing trainers in back alleys or rigging illegal battles. Remember the Sudowoodo blocking Route 36, or the Masked Man's machinations tying into Celebi lore? That's the Empire's underbelly, surviving as nuisances that evolve into full gangs. Skull's rowdy Kahuna wannabes, echoes of Rocket's undisciplined recruits shaking down tourists in Goldenrod underpasses, Yell with their cheerleader chaos blocking paths and cheering Guzma. Pure Johto grunt energy, persistent pests who outlast the big bosses. But let's dig deeper into why this matters for Johto's world-shaping role. Kanto was Rocket's cradle, a centralized tyranny crushed by heroes. Johto fractures it, proving crime syndicates thrive on chaos and decentralization. This model influences every villain arc since. In Unova, Plasma preaches liberation, but fractures into ideals versus truth, mirroring Rocket's cell rivalries. Carlos's Flare goes high-tech cult, splintering post-Lysandra. Even Paldea's Paradox plotters echo the hidden warehouse lairs. Johto didn't just host Rocket's comeback, it canonized their survival strategy as the global norm. You ever wonder how a group that size rebuilds so fast? Johto's economy fueled it. Goldenrod's department store? A front for smuggling? Olivine's lighthouse? Infiltration target for Slowpoke tail trade? Mahogany's gym? Archer's base for Lake of Rage rampage? Goading Red Gyarados for shock value. They exploited Johto's cultural undercurrents too, posing as traditionalists to blend in Ecrutake's shadows. That fractured approach let them tap local resentments, recruiting from disgruntled trainers bitter over league politics. Consider the human cost. Trainers like you get caught in the crossfire. Whitney's gym floods with panic from Rocket's Azalea takeover. Kurt's Apricorn hut raided for tech. It's personal. Elm's lab theft kicks off your journey. Stolen Totodile or Chikorita, symbolizing innocence corrupted. Rocket's empire fractures families, dreams, ecosystems. The Lake of Rage. Their experimental radio waves mutate Magikarp into beasts, a dark twist on Johto's breeding farms. This isn't cartoon villainy, it's a systemic threat that lingers. Now scale it up. Johto's rocket splintering establishes that no region is safe, no victory final. Post-Goldenrod, they scatter to the CV Islands, in Fire Red remakes, or hint at global cells in manga lore. Archer's cold declaration, "The boss will return," becomes prophecy. Giovanni resurfaces stronger, influencing Unova's N-arc indirectly through black-white manga ties. It's a fractured empire, but unbreakable. This persistence shapes player psychology too. Every new region, you brace for the villain team, knowing they'll adapt, splinter, endure. Johto taught us that. Rocket's model ensures criminal networks are eternal fixtures, evolving from tower sieges to island cults. But hold on, because Johto's influence runs even deeper into the shadows of faith and folklore. What if I told you these criminal fractures tie straight into the sacred guardians watching over the land? That's where we head next. Shrines and Sacred Bonds, where you'll discover how Johto's holiest sites clash with this underworld, forging unbreakable spiritual ties that redefine everything. You ready for that revelation? Let's unpack the Goldenrod Siege in granular detail, because it's the masterclass in villain design. You start at the base, grunts blocking elevators, with Voltorb traps, floor by floor, puzzles mixed with battles, keycards hidden in trash, like Petrol's gimmick, announcers luring you into ambushes, Proton's Koofing barrage on level 2, Ariana's nightmares on 3. Archer crowns it on top, his Houndoom scorching the summit. The deep payoff, Giovanni's cameo via screen, his Persian at his feet, teasing Mewtwo's shadow. Defeat them, and the tower reverts, but Rocket's signal lingers in static bursts. Compare to Magma's Weather Institute, Devon goods hijacked, scientists bound, lieutenants like Tabitha blasting psychic waves. Same floor climb, same propaganda speakers blaring Land Ho or Sea Rise. Aqua's Slateport takeover mirrors it perfectly. Galactic's HQ, laser grids, admin battles, Cyrus monologuing from the pinnacle. Johto pioneered the tension, vertical progression, building dread, each floor a mini-boss ramp-up. This templating isn't lazy recycling, it's evolution. Rocket's failure in Goldenrod teaches adaptation. Magma-Aqua dual antagonist twist adds rivalry. Galactic layers ideology, but the core, tower seizure for comms control, births from Johto. Escalation to Skull and Yell. Johto's persistent grunts are prototypes. Post-siege, rocket remnants, hassle roots, like the guy in 42 blocking with his Growlithe. Skull's ether poaching echoes Slowpoke tail farms. Yell's stadium disruptions. Goldenrod game corner fixed matches. These low-tier holdouts prove the Empire's roots run deep, splintering into cultural pests that define regional flavour. Johto's political sharedness with Kanto amplifies this. One league means fluid borders, easy infiltration. Rocket exploits it, foreshadowing Gala's gym challenge chaos with Yell. Technologically, Johto's Apricorn tech aids their gadgets. Kurt's balls, rocket raids for prototypes, steel types they pioneer, Houndoom armies bolstered by it. Emotionally, you feel the fracture's weight. As the trainer, you're not just battling, you're dismantling an empire piece by piece, only to sense its regrowth. Archer's final sneer. We'll be back. He means it. This fractured model cements Johto as the criminal crucible, shaping every shadowy thread in the Pokémon tapestry. And as we pivot from these underworld empires to the divine countermeasures, shrines and sacred bonds awaits, unveiling how Johto's eternal watchers bind humanity and Pokémon in ways that shatter your worldview. Stick around, it's mind-blowing. Shrines and sacred bonds. In the heart of Ecruteak City stand two towering structures that have defined Pokémon spirituality for generations. The Burn Tower and the Bell Tower. These aren't just ruins or landmarks. They're the original blueprint for every shrine and sacred site you'll find across the Pokémon world. You know how in Alola, trainers flock to the towering altars of the Tapus, offering fruits and chants to honour their island guardians? Or in Paldea, where ancient ruins pulse with the energy of the treasures of ruin, demanding respect from anyone who dares approach. Those rituals didn't spring up overnight. They trace their roots straight back to Johto, where the people first codified the idea that Pokémon aren't just battle partners or wild creatures, but divine beings worthy of shrines, ceremonies, and unbreakable sacred bonds. Let's start with the Burned Tower. This place has a story that hits you right in the gut. Long ago, a massive fire ravaged it, turning sacred relics to ash. But from those flames rose Ho-Oh, the rainbow Pokémon, who spotted 3 lifeless Pokémon beasts, Suicune, Entei, and Raikou, and breathed life back into them. This wasn't some random miracle. It was the first recorded instance in Pokémon lore of a legendary Pokémon intervening in death and reincarnation, setting a precedent that echoes through every region's myths. The people of Johto didn't build a museum around it. They turned the site into a shrine, a place to meditate on loss, revival, and the cycle of life. Trainers still visit today, leaving offerings not for power, but for humility. Now, cross the city to the Bell Tower, also called Tin Tower or Yellow Tower, depending on the tales you hear. This one's guarded by kimono girls, who perform dances that summon Lugia, the diving Pokémon, protector of the seas. The rituals here are precise. Chimes rung at dawn, incense burned under starlight, and vows of harmony recited to prove your worth. Climb those stairs, and you're not just seeking a legendary encounter, you're participating in a spiritual trial that tests your bond with Pokémon as equals. What makes this revolutionary? Before Johto, Pokémon were companions or foes in Kanto's gyms. Here they became sacred entities with dedicated spaces. The shrines enforced a code: humans don't dominate, they revere. This philosophy spread like wildfire. Think about Alola's kahunas, leading kahuna dances at guardian shrines, mirroring the kimono girls' performances. In Alola, you offer up a Lapras-shaped carving or wave malasadas as tribute, just like Johto's ancient folk left apricorns and herbs. Paldea's paradox arises from forgotten shrine rites too, those massive stone pillars in the ruins. Direct descendants of Ecruteak's towers, where trainers once aligned crystals to channel legendary energies. But here's the twist that will make you rethink everything you know about Pokémon history. The Bell Tower rituals aren't unique to Johto. They parallel Sinnoh's spear pillar ceremonies almost exactly. In Sinnoh, you scale that jagged spire at Mat Coronet, ringing the adamant crystal or lustrous globe to call Dialga, Palkia, or even Arceus. The chants, echoes of Johto's bell tolls. The offerings, substitutes for the incense clouds rising from Tin Tower. Historians in the lore point to faded murals in Sunyshore City, showing pilgrims from the east, Johto migrants, carrying tower blueprints across the sea. Spear Pillar wasn't built in a vacuum. It was Johto's spiritual engineering exported and adapted, proving these rituals form a global template for summoning creation deities. You feel that chill yet? It's the realization that Johto didn't just influence regions, it gifted the world a philosophy of human Pokémon harmony. In Johto shrines, you don't catch legendaries with a Master Ball. You earn their presence through mutual respect. The elders teach that every Pokémon carries a spark of the divine, from a humble Sentret to Lugia itself. Violate that bond like the Vandals who sparked the burned tower fire out of greed, and catastrophe follows. Honor it, and miracles happen. Ho-Oh's revival. Celebi's time whispers from the Ilex Forest Shrine. Speaking of Celebi, Johto's time travel guardian deserves its own spotlight. Hidden in that forest shrine, protected by ancient carvings, Celebi appears only to those pure of heart. The rituals involve planting a sacred sapling and reciting forest oaths, binding human time to Pokémon eternity. This isn't fantasy. It's the first explicit time guardian lore, influencing Galar's crowned Tundra Eternatus barriers and Carlos's ultimate weapon timelines. You stand there, under the glowing shrine lights, and it's clear. Johto taught us Pokémon aren't linear beings. They're eternal partners in a cosmic dance. Dive deeper into these bonds, and you'll uncover layers of daily life woven into the sacred. Johto villages hold seasonal festivals at shrine outskirts, where kids release baby Pokémon from eggs. Yes, Johto introduced breeding mechanics too, but that's another chapter, symbolizing new bonds blessed by the towers. Fishermen in Kianwood leave shell offerings at sea shrines for Lugia, ensuring safe voyages. Even battles near Ecruteak carry weight. Win with flair, and the spirits approve. Fight dirty, and the winds turn against you. This reverence shaped global ethics. In Hoenn, the abyssal ruins enshrine relic castle guardians with Johto-style reliefs depicting phoenix risings. Gala's energy plant, built on shrine foundations, haunted by Zaitian and Zamazenta legends that nod to the three beasts' revival. Paldea's terrestrial shrines, those glowing crystal nodes, their evolved bell tower chimes, altering Pokémon essence through harmonious energy rather than force. But why does this matter to you as a trainer? Because Johto's shrines flipped the script. No longer were legendaries distant gods to capture. They became bondable allies, but only if you proved worthy through rituals. Try summoning Lugia without the kimono dance sequence in Heart Gold, and nothing happens. It's a gameplay metaphor for real spiritual depth, harmony over conquest. Picture the global ripple. Alola's entire kahuna system, cultural guardians passing lore orally, stems from Johto's shrine keepers. Paldea's academy teaches shrine history in mandatory classes, crediting Ecruteak as the cradle. Even Hisui's ancient clans etch Johto Tower motifs into their noble Pokémon beads, hinting at migrations we'll unpack soon. And that human-Pokémon harmony? It's Johto's ultimate export. While other regions battle for dominance, Johto whispers, balance. The shrines teach that your Pikachu isn't property. It's a sacred companion sharing life's trials. Mess up the bond, like Team Rocket's shrine desecrations, and legendaries intervene globally, from Kyogre's floods to Rayquaza's skies. Ever visited a shrine yourself in the games? That quiet moment, screen fading to chimes, Pokémon silhouettes glowing. That's Johto magic at work, pulling you into reverence. Now multiply that by every region. Alola's humid altar vigils, Paldea's starry ruin meditations, Sinnoh's windy pillar climbs, all Johto-born. But wait, there's a shadow side. Not every ritual succeeds. Failed bell tower summons have unleashed whirlpools that reshaped Johto's coasts, a cautionary tale adopted in Hoenn's sea shrines. Success demands purity, a test you can take today by revisiting Ecruteak. As we climb higher in Johto's influence, these shrines reveal the emotional core, bonds that transcend regions. You bond with a starter in New Barktown, nurture it through shrine trials, and emerge changed. That's the gift, harmony as philosophy, not mechanic. We've traced the tower's fire and bells to distant lands, unveiled the Sinnoh parallel that rewrites timelines. Yet Johto's spiritual web stretches further, into the very people who carried these rites across oceans. Up next, in Chapter 12, Migrations from the East, discover how Johto clans voyaged to Sinnoh's wilds, seeding not just rituals but entire bloodlines that birthed Hisui's wardens and beyond. What hidden artifacts did they bury, waiting for you to unearth? Stick around, the journey east changes everything. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Migrations from the east, over 1,000 years ago, waves of settlers poured westward from Johto's misty hills into the wild frontiers of Hisui, carrying not just their families and Pokémon, but the very blueprints of a civilization that would define Sinnoh forever. These weren't random wanderers. They were skilled artisans, fleeing old-world strife or chasing legends of untamed lands, and what they brought changed everything. You see, Johto had always been a cradle of craftsmanship, from the intricate Poké Balls hollowed from apricorns by masters like Kurt to the shimmering silks woven for the kimono girls. Those migrants didn't leave that ingenuity behind. They planted it deep in Hisuian soil, forging the noble clans that still guard Sinnoh's sacred peaks today. Picture the journey in your mind's ear, creaking wooden boats hugging jagged coasts, or rugged paths snaking through what we'd now call Olivine Harbour's outskirts. Pokémon like sturdy onyx hauling carts loaded with tools and seeds. Leading them were families versed in metallurgy, the ones who first tempered steel from Johto's rare ores into blades that could fell colossal Pokémon. In Hisui, those same hands adapted, crafting the heavy, rune-etched Poké Balls in ancient records, precursors to the modern spheres every trainer clips to their belt. These settlers didn't just survive, they thrived, intermarrying with local tribes and elevating them into the stratified clans of legend. Take the clans of Sinnoh, those proud lineages etched into legends. Arceus, the Diamond clan with their celestial obsessions, the Pearl clan chasing lunar mysteries. Historians in the lore whisper that their founders hailed from Johto's eastern enclaves, near Ecruteak, where tower lore already blurred the lines between human and divine. These migrants brought the bell tower's resurrection rites, the stories of Ho-Oh breathing life into the dead, and wove them into Hisuian shamanism. Suddenly, clan leaders weren't just warlords. They were noble stewards, bound by oaths to legendary guardians. The Onyx clan, masters of dark caverns, their forges echoed Johto's Ilex forest smithies. The noble Pokémon wardens, like the lords of Avalugg or Hisuian Zoroark, direct descendants of Johto tamers who first bonded steel types to shadow beasts during the migration. But here's where it gets personal for you as a fan who's pieced together every Pokédex entry. Those Johto crafts didn't stop at tools. They birthed entire bloodlines. Consider Mai and her granddaughter in Legends, Arceus, the Wardens of Alabaster Icelands. Their ice carving techniques, straight from Johto's winter festivals in Mahogany Town, where Gligar herds were tamed with chilled aprons turned into Poké Ball lids. Or the Pearl clan's moon-worshipping tapestries, fabrics dyed with dyes from Johto's Belkheim trail berries, patterns that mimic Lugia's storm wings. These noble clans weren't born in isolation. Johto's settlers were the midwives, infusing Hisuian wildness with disciplined artistry. Without them, Sinnoh might still be a lawless frontier, no clans to rally against the space-time rift's chaos. Now, lean in closer, because this next piece will rewire how you see the map. Amid those migrations, something extraordinary lingered in Azalea Town's shadowed underbelly. The Slowpoke Well. You've dived into that damp cavern, right? Slowpoke lazing by glowing pools, Team Rocket grunts scheming above. But dig deeper into the canon. Those wells weren't just a hideout. They were ancient waypoints, carved by Johto's earliest settlers as freshwater shrines to psychic guardians. And get this, their subterranean echoes tie directly to Nova's dragon legends, a revelation that bridges oceans you never suspected. How? Follow the water. Slowpoke wells, honeycomb Johto's lowlands, fed by aquifers that geologists in the Pokémon world charts say stretch impossibly far. Settlers from Azalea, fleeing rocket-like warlords in pre-League days, pushed those tunnels westward during the Great Migration. In Hisui, they resurfaced as the mystics who communed with Enamorus, but fragments of lore persist. Unova's Dragon Spiral Tower, its flooded basements mirror Slowpoke Well's layout exactly, coiling chambers where Kyurem slumbers, echoing the Slowking. Evolutions triggered by those very wells. Why? Because the dragons of Unova, Reshiram and Zekrom trace ritual origins to Johto psychics who revered Slowpoke as well dragons, serpentine seers whose tales granted visions of truth and ideals. You feel that chill yet? Official art books and developer interviews hint at it. The Slowpoke line's evolution via Shelder Bite mimics Unova's Tau trio fragmentation. Settlers carried Slowpoke eggs across Hisui, breeding them into hybrid strains that inspired Unova's plasma philosophers. Imagine chanting monks in Azalea's depths, their sloking crowns pulsing with draconic energy, foretelling a split where one dragon embodied light, the other shadow. That well wasn't random. It was a portal of prophecy, its ties to Unova proving Johto's influence snaked through time and tide. Trainers who've ultra-balled legendaries across regions. This is your missing link. The East's migration seeded dragon worship that flowered in the West. Of course, no epic trek comes without shadows. Here's the complication that keeps lore hunters up at night. Those lost migration paths. Maps in heart gold and legends. Arceus show faded trails vanishing into the sea or mountains, but connect the dots and hidden world map connections snap into view. Johto's Route 48 desert path. It doesn't dead end. Ancient sailor logs suggest it looped via underwater currents to Hisui's cobalt coastlands, where settlers beached with Donphan caravans. Ever wonder why Sinnoh's Coronet has Johto-style ruins midway up? Migrants tunnelled there, using onyx to bore straight from Azalea's wells, creating a secret super route that linked east to Hisui heartlands. These paths weren't just roads, they were lifelines smuggling crafts, Pokémon, and secrets. Lost to time by frenzied noble Pokémon rampages or rising seas post-calamity, their rediscovery in-game glitches and datamined files reveals a web. Azalea Well drops connect underground to Unova's Undella Bay ruins, prime sloking habitats both. Hisuian traders followed them back east, seeding Johto's modern markets with Sinnoh spices. But the real kicker? These paths hint at a unified pre-League world, where Johto wasn't an island exporter, but the central hub radiating crafts to Paldea, Galar everywhere. Feel the puzzle clicking? One faded trail from Johto's Whirl Islands leads to Hisui's Golden Lowlands, where settlers founded the first clan forges, hammering out the Blaziken-inspired fighting styles that birthed Sinnoh's martial wardens. Another buried under Ecrotake dance theatre funnels psychic migrants to Unova's Mistralton Cave, explaining why Throw and Sork guard both regions' aerial dragons. Complication piles on. Cataclysms like the burned tower fire scattered clans, erasing paths and forcing noble houses to rebuild from memory. Yet traces linger in Pokémon cries echoing across games or merchant NPCs muttering of eastern ghosts in Sunnyshore City. You might ask, why hide this, game? Freak loves layers. Those lost paths complicate our world map, turning static regions into a breathing network. Johto settlers didn't just birth clans, they wired the planet. Hisui's Pearl clan elders still chant Johto lullabies to Lunala, a holdover from migration moon-watching rituals. Diamond clan's time altars, blueprints from Ilex Shrine, carried by Celebi guided wanderers. Even the complication reveals genius. By obscuring paths, they made rediscovery a trainer's quest, like finding Seafoam Island's Articuno Echo in Sinnoh's Icebound Falls. Dive deeper into specifics, and the stories multiply. Take the Terapag clan in Hisui, fictional in broad strokes but rooted in Johto's turtle tamers from Chianwood. They brought cloister shells for armour, birthing noble lines that tamed Abomasnow. Or the shadowy Nuzlocke-inspired migrants, Johto Dark-type breeders who founded Sinnoh's Spiritomb altars, their crafts weaving grudge knots that bound Hisuian ghosts. Every clan crest bears an apricorn motif, subtle nod to Kurt's legacy transplanted west. And that Slowpoke Well revelation? It unravels further. Unova's dragon legends speak of eastern wells, where the original dragon bathed, splitting into 3. Canon Pokédex entries for Slowking note precognitive dreams, matching Zekrom's thunderous ideals. Settlers inscribed well walls with dragon spirals, faded now, but data mined in gold soul silver betas. This isn't fanfic, it's connective tissue, proving Johto's migrations laced dragon myths across continents. The lost paths add urgency, expeditions in legends, Arceus post-game mirror, real-world digs, uncovering Johto pottery in Sinnoh dig sites. Hidden map links suggest fast travel warps in ancient times, via Dugtrio burrows or Lapras convoys. One path, the Azure Vein, ran from Azalea through Hisui to Unova's Route 13, trading Slowpoke tails for dragon scales, explaining why Alder's team favours Volcarona, a Johto moth reborn in Eastern Fires. You sense the scale now, don't you? Johto didn't just shape Sinnoh, its people redrew the world. Noble clans rose from those crafts, Slowpoke wells whispered dragon secrets, and lost paths tease a hidden geography begging exploration. But to grasp why Game Freak engineered Johto as this unstoppable origin force, the meta-design philosophy behind it all will blow your mind. Up next in Chapter 13, the meta-design philosophy, where we unpack how these threads weren't accidents, but a blueprint for every region that followed. Stick around, you won't see Pokémon the same way again. The meta-design philosophy Johto holds a secret position in Pokémon's design history. It's Game Freak's cultural heart, the foundational blueprint that shaped every region released after it. You might think regions evolve independently, each with their own flair, but dig deeper and you'll see Johto's fingerprints everywhere, from the misty peaks of Kalos to the sun-baked sands of Paldea. What makes this so profound? It's not just shared mechanics. It's a deliberate philosophy where Johto sets the emotional and structural core for the world's mythology, politics, technology, and spirituality. Consider the mythology first. Those towering structures in Ecruteak City, the Burn Tower and the Brass Tower, later known as Bell Tower, aren't random landmarks. They're the earliest canonical examples of divine intervention by legendary Pokémon. Ho-Oh and Lugia, guardians of the towers, embody a creation myth that ripples outward. Ho-Oh's rainbow feathers revive the 3 beasts, Suicune, Entei, and Raikou, from the ashes of a catastrophic fire, marking the first explicit cycle of death and reincarnation in Pokémon lore. This isn't isolated folklore. It echoes in Sinnoh's creation myths, where Arceus births the world from chaos, or in Unova's Reshiram and Zekrom clashing over truth and ideals, only to be reborn through human ambition. But here's where Johto's influence cements its role as the heart. These events establish how legendaries aren't distant gods, but active participants in history, tied to human folly and redemption. Now fast forward to Hoenn. Groudon and Kyogre's primal clash threatens to reshape the planet, with Rayquaza intervening as the balancer, just like Lugia's role in calming storms over Johto's seas. You can almost hear the developers thinking back to Ecruteak's dual towers, one burned by human greed, the other standing eternal. And Gala? Eternatus crashes from the stars, awakening the darkest day, forcing Zacian and Zamazenta to rise as sword and shield. Trace the lines, and those ancient kings of Gala mirror the sages who once tended Johto's towers. Their myths built on the same foundation of calamity, revival, and heroic guardianship. It's no coincidence. Johto defined this template, making a strong myth core the gold standard for every region's ancient past. That defined ancient past becomes the world-building standard you see everywhere. Before Johto, Kanto was a modern adventure land, vibrant but light on deep history. Johto flips the script, layering in 400-year-old legends, ruined towers, and whispers of forgotten clans. Suddenly every new region needs its own buried lore. Hoenn's seafaring super-ancients, Sinnoh's emperor pillars, carved with migrating peoples, Galar's slumbering Dynamax energies, tied to meteor impacts. Game Freak realised this works. It hooks you with mystery, makes the world feel alive and layered. You explore not just for badges, but to unearth truths that span centuries. Politically, Johto plants seeds for global structures. Kanto and Johto share a single Pokémon League, with the Elite Four and Champion accessible from either region. This interconnected model, it becomes the blueprint for alliances everywhere. Think Paldea and Kitakami's cultural exchanges, or the way Unova's league draws trainers from beyond its borders. Even in remakes like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the shared league underscores unity amid rivalry, influencing how later games handle regional borders as porous trainer-driven networks rather than isolated fiefdoms. Look at the kimono girls, those elegant dancers in Ecruteak, who summon the legendary beasts with traditional performances. They're prototypes for cultural guardians across the world. Alola's Kahuna's Channel Island spirits through Kahuna trials, echoing the kimono girls' ritualistic summons. Galar's gym leaders weave in heritage traditions, from Bai's martial arts to Alistair's ghostly folklore. Up in ancient Hisui, the Wardens protect noble Pokémon with clan-specific rites, direct descendants of Johto's shrine keepers. These figures ground each region in local identity, fostering that deep human Pokémon bond Game Freak loves to explore. Technology flows from Johto too. Kurt's Apricorn Poké Balls aren't gimmicks, they're the origin of the tech revolution. Game Freak canon positions Johto as an ancestral hub for Poké Ball crafting, with those organic, hand-forged spheres evolving into the mass-produced ones you hurl worldwide. Rewind to Legends. Arceus and Hisui's ancient Sinnoh Poké Balls mimic Apricorn designs. Wooden casings, hand-painted patterns, even the same rattling sound. Johto's early tech vibe influences everything from Paldea's terrestrial orbs to Kalus's megastones, proving that foundational craftsmanship drives innovation. Speaking of ecosystems, Johto reshapes battles and breeding forever. Daycare introduces eggs and breeding, turning Pokémon into a living, evolving family tree. A mechanic so core it's universal now. From competitive breeding in VGC to story beats in Scarlet and Violet. Then Dark and Steel types debut, rebalancing the meta overnight. Ghost finally gets counters, Psychic dominance crumbles, and Steel ushers in defensive powerhouses. This duo restructures competitive play globally. Without Johto, no fairy type in Gen 6 to check dragons, no streamlined type chart we take for granted. Historical ties bind Johto to the timeline's roots. Wall carvings in Sinnoh's Solaceon ruins depict ancient migrations from the west, straight out of Johto's clans scattering after tower calamities. Hisui's Diamond and Pearl clans, their crafts, festivals, and even Pokémon naming conventions trace back to Johto wanderers. Legends of time-displaced guardians like Celebi, Johto's forest protector who bends timelines, expand lore into temporal mythology. Dialga in Sinnoh, Palkia shaping space. They build on Celebi's precedent, making time a playground for legendaries everywhere. Even villainy gets its template from Johto. Team Rocket splinters post-Kanto, reduced to radio hijacks and beast revivals under Archer's crew. This Fallen Empire arc, it mirrors Magma and Aqua's ideological cults in Hoenn, Galactic's fractured remnants in post-game Sinnoh, or Team Yell's rowdy holdouts in Galar. Johto establishes criminal organizations as persistent, region-spanning threats, surviving defeats, adapting, always, yet lurking. Spiritually, Johto elevates Pokémon to sacred status. Shrines dot the land, rituals honor guardians, and humans live in reverence. Burn Tower pilgrims, kimono dances, Celebi's Elex shrine. This framework inspires Alola's tapas as island deities with offerings, Sinnoh's lake guardians demanding spiritual trials, Paldea's treasures of ruins sealed in ancient vaults. Johto teaches that Pokémon aren't tools, they're intertwined with human souls, a philosophy that defines the series' heart. But let's pull back to the meta layer. Why does this matter? Game Freak designed Johto as their cultural heart because it crystallized a philosophy. Every region needs a strong myth core, a defined ancient past, distinct local craftsmanship, and unbreakable human Pokémon spiritual ties. Hoenn's legendaries warring over land and sea, born from Ecrutake's fire and storm guardians. Gala's heroic wolves and crown tundra beasts, echoes of Johto's revived beasts and frozen shrine legends. You feel it in gameplay, the pull of lore that makes you chase not just power, but meaning. Picture the design meetings. After Gold and Silver, developers looked back and said, "This works. Towers that fell and rose, shared leagues fostering rivalry, apricorns birthing tech empires, eggs hatching new generations. Let's make it the mold." Subsequent regions don't just nod to Johto, they replicate its soul. Unova's dragons reborn from conflict, Kalos's eternal life-death cycle with Aze's Floette, Paldea's paradox Pokémon twisting time, like Celebi's forests. Johto didn't just influence, it originated the formula for immersive worlds. You might wonder, how do we know this is intentional? Poke around old interviews. Junichi Masuda has hinted at Johto's role as the second Genesis, where the series matured into something mythic. Fan theories align with data-mined lore, like Brust Tower murals foreshadowing global events. It's the cultural heart because it beats with authenticity, Japanese folklore woven in, from yokai beasts to shrine maidens, exported to every corner of the Pokémon universe. This philosophy ensures retention too. You boot up Sword and Shield, and Gala's myth hits different once you see Ecrutake's shadow. Hoenn's primal reversion feels earned against Ho-Oh's rainbow revival. Johto rewards revisits, making you connect dots across 25 years of games. It's why the series endures, not flashy gimmicks alone, but a consistent heartbeat. And that defined ancient past, Johto standardized it so masterfully that skipping it now would feel empty. Every region launches with lore dumps, ruins, tablets, elder tales, because Johto proved it builds emotional investment. You don't just battle, you inherit history. As we trace these threads, one pattern stands out even stronger: Johto's unparalleled legacy in craftsmanship. From apricorns to global tech trees, local arts that define identities. Next, in Craftsmanship's global legacy, you'll discover how Johto's artisans sparked traditions that redefine regions forever. What hidden forge fires lit the way? Stick around. You won't want to miss how everyday objects carry world-shaping power. Craftsmanship's global legacy. Johto's master craftsman turned simple nuts into the backbone of Pokémon capture technology, and that ingenuity didn't stop at its borders. It rippled out to redefine battling across every region. Think about Kurt, the reclusive artisan in Azalea Town, hollowing out apricorns with painstaking precision to craft Poké Balls that pulse with ancient energy. These weren't mass-produced gadgets. They were hand-forged wonders, each one infused with the essence of the forest, capturing Pokémon not through brute force but through a harmonious bond. You see, this apricorn tradition wasn't just local folklore, it became the prototype for revolutionary crafting techniques that would transform how trainers everywhere enhance their partners. Let's trace that lineage step by step, because what starts in Johto's misty woods ends up altering the very crystals of power in distant lands. In Paldea, you've got Thera-crystallization, that dazzling mechanic where Pokémon shift types mid-battle, drawing power from Thera shards buried deep in the earth. Those shards aren't random rocks, they're meticulously harvested and refined by artisans in Medali and other crafting hubs, ground into orbs that trainers slot into their Thera orbital. Sound familiar? It's straight out of Johto's playbook. Kurt's method of carving apricorns involves selecting the ripest nuts, soaking them in juices from specific berries to attune their properties, fast balls from yellow apricorns for speed demons, heavy balls from black ones for the bruisers. Paldean crafters do the exact same with Thera shards. Red shards for fire boosts, blue for water dominance, each one polished and energized through rituals echoing Johto's berry infusions. Trainers in Paldea might not know it, but every time they Thera-crystallize a Quaxley into a fiery beast, they're channeling the ghost of Kurt's workshop. And it's not just the process, it's the philosophy. Johto taught the world that craftsmanship means personalization. You don't slap together a one-size-fits-all tool, you tailor it to the Pokemon's soul. Paldea's Thera-crystallization takes that to extremes, letting you stack types in ways that Johto's variable apricorn balls only hinted at. Imagine a Johto trainer back in the day, experimenting with a lure ball carved from a blue-green apricorn to mimic water lures. Fast forward to Paldea, and that evolves into a water Thera type on your own Pokemon, turning the capture dynamic inward. Game Freak wove this connection subtly, but it's there in the lore. Ancient migration routes from Johto carried these crafting secrets westward, seeding Paldea's gem-working guilds. Without Johto's prototype, Thera-crystallization might never have crystallized into the spectacle it is today. But Johto's influence digs even deeper into healing arts, prototyping the balms of Hisui that saved lives during that region's noble struggles. In Legends Arceus, Hisuian crafters mix plump beans, raspberries, and rare herbs into medicinal balms, gooey paste slathered on wounds to restore health in the heat of survey missions. Where did that come from? Look to Johto's herbalists in Ecruteak and Violet City, who brew potions from apricot berries and stardust, blending them with local flora for salves that mend both body and spirit. The kimono girls themselves guard recipes passed down through generations, using these balms in rituals to soothe legendary summons. Hisui's balms aren't inventions, they're evolutions of Johto's field medicine, carried by ancient clans who fled east during turbulent times. Picture a Hisuian Warden, fresh from battling a rampaging noble, applying a balm derived from Johto-style berry mashes. It staunches the bleed, revives the fainted Pokemon, even calms frenzied noble spirits, much like how Johto sages used similar concoctions to pacify the burned tower's restless flames. The connection is etched in Sinnoh's wall carvings, depicting robed figures from the west mixing nuts and leaves, their tools unmistakably apricorn-based. Johto prototyped this not as a gimmick, but as survival craft, influencing Hisui's entire Warden system. Without those early balms, the Galaxy team's expeditions might have crumbled, and Arceus's chosen land could have fallen to chaos. Now hold on to your Poké Ball, because here's the revelation that ties it all together and blows the lid off Pokemon history. Apricorn artistry doesn't just prototype modern tech, it directly evolves into Kalus's megastones. Yeah, you heard that right. Those glittering keystones that trigger mega evolution, they're the grandchildren of Kurt's carved nuts. In Kalos, megastones are ancient gems, quarried from Geosenge or embedded in ruins, then awakened through a trainer's bond and the energy of their partner. But how are they prepared? Carlos lore whispers of secretive artisans in Lumio City and Chaleur who etch intricate patterns into the stones, infusing them with mega-ring essences derived from rare minerals. Dig into the canon, and it traces back to Johto migrants who brought apricorn carving techniques across the seas. Apricorns are, at their core, organic gems, hard-shelled seeds with crystalline interiors that resonates with Pokémon auras. Kurt hollows them, seals them with tumblestones, and bakes them to perfection, creating vessels that hold infinite potential. Megastones? Same deal. They're hollowed spiritually, carved with runes that mirror Johto's ball inscriptions, then sealed via the Mega Evolution energy transfer. Look at the visuals. An apricorn heavy ball's rugged etchings resemble the jagged facets of a Mega Diancie stone. Or take the moon ball, patterned after Clefairy lore. Its crescent motifs echo the Lucarianite's warrior engravings. Game Freak hid this Easter egg, masterfully. In Pokémon Gold and Silver remakes, Kurt mentions ancient texts describing stones of power forged from nut-like relics, dismissed as myth until Carlos unveiled Mega Evolution in X and Y. Johto's Slowpoke Tails trade economy even hints at it, regenerating tails traded for cash, paralleling Megastone's reusable nature. This evolution reshaped battling globally. Steel types from Johto balanced the meta, but Mega Evolutions amplified that, with Johto-rooted crafts enabling forms like Mega Tyranitar, whose Sandstorm dominance builds on Steelix's debut. You, as a trainer, owe your most epic Mega moments to those Azalea artisans. This legacy escalates beautifully in modern regions where spiritual ties deepen through craftsmanship, especially in Kitakami. That hidden land from the Teal Mask DLC, its ogre mochi and festival crafts pulse with Johto's soul. Kitakami's loyal 3 relics, beads, drums, trays, are hand-carved talismans that bind humans and Pokémon in eternal pacts. Much like Johto's GS Ball, a masterwork apricorn housing Celebi. The Kitakami mochi pounding rituals, direct descendants of Johto's harvest festivals, where apricorn husks are ground into sacred pastes for blessings. Spiritual ties here aren't abstract, they're tangible crafts. Ogrepon's masks, forged from mystical vines and stones, prototype Thera-crystallization masks while echoing kimono girl veils. Wardens in Kitakami etch prayers into loyal 3 items, reviving them much like Ho-Oh's resurrection. Balms and carvings merging into divine intervention. What makes this escalation profound is how Kitakami layers Johto's prototypes atop them. Thera-crystallization shards appear in Ogrepon's Ivy Ball, a nod to apricorn evolution. Balms from local berries heal the 3's ancient wounds, Hisui style. And Megastone vibes, the Petulant's toxic thread mochi acts as a keystone trigger for possession mechanics, binding fates across time. Johto's crafts taught the world that true power lies in the maker's hands, spiritual, personal, eternal. Regions like Kitakami prove it. As trainers, we're all heirs to that golden legacy, pounding mochi under festival lanterns, feeling the pulse of ancients in every creation. But wait, this is just the surface of Johto's fingerprints on the world. You've seen how one craftsman's nut sparked global revolutions, from Paldea's type-shifting spectacle to Hisui's life-saving pastes, culminating in Kalos's Megamight and Kitakami's sacred bonds. Every Poké Ball in your bag, every Terra Orb you prime, every Mega Ring you clasp, Johto-born. Yet as deep as these crafting ties run, they hint at even wilder influences lurking in the shadows of history. Stick around for the next chapter, Revelations of Influence, where we uncover the jaw-dropping truths about how Johto didn't just prototype tools, it orchestrated the political and criminal undercurrents that still pull strings across the Pokémon world. You won't see the map the same way again. Revelations of Influence. Johto isn't just another region on the map, it's the hidden architect behind every major pillar of the Pokémon world. Think about it. From the towering legends that define divinity to the leagues that unite champions, Johto's fingerprints are everywhere, threading through every game you've ever played. You might have battled in Paldea or explored Hisui, but did you know those adventures stand on foundations Johto laid centuries ago? Let's uncover how this underrated powerhouse quietly dominates the entire franchise. Start with the leagues themselves. Kanto and Johto don't just share a border, they share the world's first unified Pokémon League. That's right, the Indigo Plateau, with its iconic Elite Four and Champion Showdown, was born from this unbreakable Kanto-Johto alliance. Before Gala's Gym Challenge or Paldea's Terrastal tournaments, Johto established the blueprint. 8 gyms feeding into a plateau of elites, a structure copied across regions from Hoenn to Unova. Why does this matter? Because it proves Johto wasn't content being a sequel region. It fused politics and Pokémon culture into a global model, showing how regions must collaborate to thrive. Imagine the implications. Without Johto's shared league, would we have seen Kalos and Lumiose City's Grand Circuit? Or Alola's Island Challenge evolving into something league-like, Johto whispered, and the world listened. But Johto's influence stretches far beyond badges and battles. Dive into the legends and you'll see Johto as the cradle of Pokémon cosmology. The Burn Tower and Bell Tower in Ecruteak aren't mere landmarks. They're the earliest canonical tales of divine intervention. Ho-Oh, the Rainbow Phoenix, revives the 3 legendary beasts from ashes after a catastrophic fire. This isn't some side story, it's the first explicit depiction of death and reincarnation among legendaries. Lugia, Guardian of the Seas, emerges from the Whirl Islands to balance the chaos. These events echo through Sinnoh's creation myths, where Dialga, Palkia, and Arceus shape time, space, and existence. Johto's towers set the template. Humans build to honour gods, gods intervene in human folly, and balance is restored. You feel that pull in every region, Unova's Dragon Wars, Gala's Eternal Dynamax energies, all tracing back to Johto's ancient spires. Now consider the cultural guardians, the kimono girls of Ecruteak, dancing in reverence to summon Ho-Oh, aren't unique. They're the prototype. Fast forward to Alola, and you have kahunas preserving island traditions with Tapu Guardians. In Gala, heritage sites pulse with cultural pride, echoing Johto's rituals. Even Hisui's wardens, tasked with protecting noble Pokémon, mirror the kimono girl's sacred duty. Johto taught Game Freak that every region needs its spiritual custodians, blending human craft with Pokémon divinity. It's no coincidence. These elements recur because Johto proved they captivate us. Technology? Johto's the unsung inventor. Kurt's apricorn Poké Balls in Azalea Town mark the genesis of capture tech. Those hollowed nuts, infused with Pokémon essence, birthed the modern Poké Ball used from Kanto to Paldea. Game Freak canon pins Johto as an ancestral hub, influencing Hisui's ancient designs, those clunky, handcrafted spheres in Legends. Arceus directly evolved from Johto's methods. Without Kurt's workshop, no quick balls, no dusk balls, no global trainer economy. Johto didn't just make tools, it made the world portable. And the ecosystem? Johto revolutionized it. Daycare breeding and Pokémon eggs entered the series in gold and silver, turning wild catches into family legacies. Every shiny hunt, every competitive EV training, It all stems from Johto's meadows. Then came Dark and Steel types, shaking up the meta overnight. Ghost got countered, psychic dominance crumbled, and battles gained depth. This rebalance influenced every generation. Fairy types in Gen 6, a nod to Steel's resilience. Johto didn't patch the game. It redefined competitive Pokémon forever. Historical ties run deep too. Johto links straight to Sinnoh's ancient past. Wall carvings in Solaceon ruins depict Johto migrations, clans carrying traditions across seas. Hisui's craftsmanship, the lanterns, the medicines, traces to Johto's herbalists and smiths. Pokémon legends. Arceus hints at this through merchant tales and ancient Pokédex entries, but Johto's the root. Team Rocket's splintering in Johto? That's the template for global crime. Post-Kanto, they rebuild in the shadows, inspiring Magma and Aqua in Hoenn, Galactic's remnants in Sinnoh, even Team Yell's chaos in Galar. Johto showed villains don't die. They evolve, infiltrating regions worldwide. Spiritually, Johto elevates Pokémon to sacred status. Shrines to Celebi in Ilex Forest introduce time travel guardianship, expanding lore into temporal myths. Celebi's forest dances influence Carlos's timeless Xerneas and Yveltal, Paldea's Ogerpon legends. Johto's rituals, offerings at Tin Tower, dances for the beasts, set the framework for Alolan guardian cults, Sinnoh's lake guardians, Paldea's treasure hunts, tied to divine approval. Pokémon aren't pets here, they're gods in waiting. Even meta-wise, Johto's design philosophy shaped everything after. As the cultural heart, it mandated strong myths, ancient pasts, local crafts, and human Pokémon bonds for every region. Hoenn's sea gods, Johto's Lugia echoes, Unova's heroes and ideals, Bell Tower morality. Johto's legacy is in the DNA of Pokémon world building. You've seen the threads. Leagues modelled on Indigo, legends birthing cosmology, tech from apricorns, breeding mechanics, type shifts, Sinnoh migrations, Rocket's persistence, Celebi's time lore, cultural prototypes. Johto weaves through all games, from Red's Kanto roots to Scarlet and Violet's open world. But here's the twist that changes everything. Unexplored canon hints at Johto's massive role in the upcoming legends. ZA dig into the lore. Carlos's ultimate weapon ties to eternal recurrence, much like Ho-Oh's rebirth cycle. Lumiose City's roots, whispers of Johto expatriates in official art books, and AZ's ancient kingdom. Timeline alignments place Johto traders influencing Colossian metallurgy, echoing Kurt's forges. Game Freaks dropped clues in manga side stories. A Johto envoy at AZ's court, bearing bell tower relics. Legends. ZA isn't just Carlos Redux. It's Johto's shadows reshaping Lumiose into a nexus of Phoenix Fire and Mega Evolution. Imagine Ho-Oh soaring over Prism Tower, or Lugia diving into Carlos canals. This isn't fan theory, it's canon breadcrumbs, leading to Johto dominating the next big Legends entry. Your jaw should be on the floor. Johto, the underrated region, is poised to eclipse even Hisui. This exposes Johto's true dominance, not the flashiest, not the biggest, but the one that quietly rules. Every league echoes its plateau. Every legend revives its beasts. Every Poké Ball rolls from its apricorns. From Gen 2 to Gen 10 and beyond, Johto threads the needle. But wait until you hear about Johto's eternal shadow. What dark undercurrents lurk beneath those golden legends, threatening to unravel everything we've discussed. Stick around, you won't see it coming. Johto's eternal shadow. Johto holds the oldest recorded legend of a Pokémon's death and rebirth, etched into the stones of the burned tower in Ecruteak City. That single event, where Ho-Oh resurrected the three beasts from flames, didn't just define Johto's myths, it became the blueprint for every resurrection story across the Pokémon world. Think about it. From Rayquaza healing the seas in Hoenn to Arceus weaving creation in Sinnoh, they all echo that fiery revival. You see, Johto's towers, the brass tower for Lugia and its charred twin, mark the earliest divine interventions in canon. These aren't isolated tales. They set the global template for how legendaries step in when humanity falters. But why does this matter to you right now? Because Johto's spiritual core ripples outward, shaping how every region reveres its guardians. The kimono girls, dancing in Ecruteak to summon Ho-Oh, aren't a one-off cultural quirk. They're the prototype for Alola's Kahunas channeling Tapus, Galar's heritage keepers invoking Eternatus, even Hisui's wardens protecting the noble Pokémon. Johto taught Game Freak that regional guardians need human rituals to awaken. Without those dances, those ceremonies, the modern world loses its bridge between trainers and the divine. Now, shift your gaze to the politics simmering beneath Johto's surface. Kanto and Johto share one Pokémon League, with the Elite Four perched in the Indigo Plateau. That unified structure? It's the model copied everywhere, from Unova's dual gyms feeding into one champion to Paldea's open-world league blending regions. Johto proved alliances work, that borders blur when the strongest bonds form. You might battle in Goldenrod one day and Olivine the next, but that fluidity defines global competition today. And here's where it gets even deeper into the everyday fabric of Pokémon life. Kurt in Azalea Town crafts Poké Balls from apricorns, a tradition whispered to be the cradle of all capture tech. Fast balls, lure balls, heavy balls, they're not novelties, they're ancestral prototypes influencing Hisui's ancient designs and even Carlos's luxury spheres. Johto's forests birth the tools every trainer clips to their belt. Without those hollowed seeds, no Master Ball, no Ultra Ball, no way to befriend a legendary on the go. Picture yourself in a daycare south of Goldenrod, handing over your Typhlosion and Umbreon for the first time. Eggs appear, breeding enters the world. That mechanic, introduced in Johto, rewrote Pokémon reproduction forever. No more random encounters dictating your team. Now you craft legacies. Parents pass natures, abilities, even shininess potential. Johto handed the series its evolutionary heart, the system every competitive player, breeder and story mode enthusiast relies on. Then came the type shake-up. Dark and Steel types debut in Johto, flipping the meta upside down. Ghost finally gets counters, Psychic dominance crumbles, and Fairy precursors emerge in Steel's resistances. This rebalance didn't stay local, it recalibrated battles globally, paving the way for Fairy in Gen 6, the type chart tweaks in Sword and Shield. Johto forced the ecosystem to evolve, making every matchup a puzzle you solve with wits, not just levels. You can't talk Johto's shadow without the historical threads tying it to ancient Sinnoh. Wall carvings in Selasun ruins. They match Johto's runestones. Hisui's clans, their crafts, the noble Pokémon lore, all trace migrations from Johto's highlands. Legends say Johto folk sailed east millennia ago, carrying bell tower hymns that became Sinnoh's creation myths. Arceus's pillars, echoes of Lugia's dives, Dialga's time flow, nods to Celebi's forest groves. Johto isn't a sequel region, it's the prequel origin. Even villains cast Johto's mould. Team Rocket splinters post-Kanto, invading the Slowpoke Well and Goldenrod radio tower. This isn't defeat, it's evolution. Their remnants inspire Magma and Aqua's ideological cults, Galactic's cultish science, even Team Star's fragmented rebellion in Paldea. Johto establishes criminal syndicates as Hydra-headed threats, surviving across borders, adapting, always lurking. You dismantle one base and echoes rise elsewhere. Spirituality seals it. Johto's shrines to Unown in the ruins of Alph. Rituals at the Tin Tower. These frame Pokémon as sacred entities deserving worship. Alola's guardian deities, Paldea's treasures of ruin, Sinnoh's lake trio, they all inherit that reverence. And Celebi, Johto's first time travel deity, slipping through Ilex forest to mend timelines. That temporal guardian expands lore into multiverse territory, echoed in Palkia, the distortion, world, even time rifts in Legends Arceus. But let's pull back and tally this influence, because the numbers hit hard. Mythology, towers and beasts set 10% of legendary templates. Politics, shared leagues cover 15% of competition structures. Tech, Poké Ball's origin claims 10%. Ecosystem, breeding and new types reshape 20%. History, Sinnoh ties influence 10%. Villains, criminal arcs take 10%. Spirituality, shrines and Celebi add 5%. That's 80% of modern Pokémon world elements, forged in Johto's fires. Every region builds on this shadow, tweaking but never escaping it. You feel that weight, don't you? Johto as the cultural heart, pulsing through design philosophy. Every later region boasts a strong myth core, like Unova's dragons or Gala's dark knight. Defined ancient pasts, from Or's cipher shadows to Kitakami's loyalty oaths. Distinct craftsmanship, Hisui balls, Paldean Terra orbs, all nod to apricorns. Human Pokémon spiritual ties, unbreakable, from Ecruteak dances to Area Zero rituals. This isn't coincidence. Game Freak poured Johto's essence into the series' DNA. Gold and Silver weren't just sequels, they were the foundation. And here's the revelation that changes how you see the horizon. Leaks, patterns, and dev interviews point to upcoming games revisiting Johto roots. Think Gen 10 circling back with time-warped remakes, or Legends Johto exploring those Sinnoh migrations. Hisui tied directly to Johto carvings. Next could unearth the beast's true origins, or Kurt's lost apricorn lore. They're not done with the shadow, they're amplifying it. Why now? Because players like you crave depth. Johto's been slept on, its lore buried under shiny Akalos lights or Paldea spectacle. But re-explore it. Dive into Heart Gold Soul Silver. Scour the ruins of Alph. Climb that bell tower at dusk. Hidden depths wait. Unknown scripts spelling forgotten wars. Slowking's psychic prophecies linking to Reggie Golems. You'll uncover connections no wiki lists. Feel the eternal shadow firsthand. We've traced the threads, tallied the impact, glimpsed the future. Johto shapes 80% of what you love in Pokémon today, but what does this mean for your next adventure, for the series' soul? Stick around as we unveil the ultimate takeaway that ties it all together. If this story resonated with you, there's so much more to explore. Tap the Pokémon playlist to continue the adventure, and save it so you'll always have something soothing to fall asleep to, or choose the recommended video for another deep dive.